Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Welcome back to Real Talk Bougie. Guys, let me go ahead and put this up. Welcome back. We are here for the sentencing of LaTosHia Daniels. It has just gotten started. As you can see at the table, LaTosHia Daniels is sitting there with a mask on. Last week she was supposed to be sentenced. The prosecutor was out sick. I don't know, I don't know what's going on here, but it just got started. It was supposed to get started Memphis time, 9 o'clock, so 10 o'clock East Coast. So maybe there were other calendar items that took precedence, or they could have been waiting for victims to show up. It could have been anything. So let's go ahead and get into it. I'm sure they're gonna have victim impact and all of those things. So let's see. I'm having a little bit of lag situation, so hopefully it's gonna clear up.
Sisters are, and Tabitha, the other victim, is here today as well.
Okay, so Tabitha, as the prosecutor stated, well, let's see what he said.
And Tabitha, the other victim, his two, Mr. Perry's two sisters are.
Okay, so the victims' sisters are going to speak today, and the widow are going to be giving their victim impact statements. Let's not forget that LaTosHia Daniels, even though Brodus Perry didn't seem like he's a stand-up guy, he was a married pastor who engaged in an extramarital affair with this woman. Um, some may feel that he got what he deserved, but at the end of the day, he did have a family that loved him, and she didn't have the right to go and kill him and also try to take his wife out. Let's not forget that the widow is also a survivor because she actually tried to kill her as well. Okay. So today, LaTosHia could get at least a minimum of 15 years. I think as much as 30 plus, something like that. So we're going to see what happens. Let's go ahead and get into it.
And Tabitha, the other victim, is here today as well.
I guess we need to make the prisoner's report an exhibit to this hearing. Is there any objection?
No, Your Honor.
Make that exhibit A to this hearing.
Your Honor, I have mine if you need to make a copy. I actually didn't write on it.
See, I wrote on this. I have a copy. I guess we will need that copy.
Yes, ma'am.
Hey guys, tap in as you come in. Welcome, welcome, welcome. We're just a couple of minutes behind. Drop your lunches in the chat. I'm doing chicken noodle soup right now. It's freezing. It's 39 degrees. It's like, hello, spring. Can you please come in? Look at these folders. I know that's not the pre-sentencing report. Keep in mind when Latasha was arrested, do you guys remember when Latasha was arrested, she tried to run out of the hospital? She tried to escape. Um, she tried to escape. Um, it's it's a complete mess. She traveled across state lines. She went from Arkansas to Memphis, Tennessee with a gun.
Thank you. And Your Honor, I just wanted to make a very brief opening statement. Your Honor, I have filed a sentencing memorandum in this case that I hope was very thorough. I do intend to rely heavily on that. So I would ask the court to take into consideration my filings. We are asking the court to apply the mitigating factors number 2, 3, 8, 11, and 13. And we are asking for concurrent sentencing. We will be calling Ms. Daniels to the stand as well as 2 additional witnesses. I don't anticipate them being long witnesses, but it will be her sister and her son. And Your Honor, we are asking the court for a minimum sentence.
Does the, say any,
No, ma'am.
or you may call your first witness.
This attorney is the same woman who defended the guy who killed his baby mom and threw the baby in the river 2 days after it was born. I mean, she's got her clients. I mean, I guess, you know, I think she might be from the public defender's office, but she definitely has had a pretty tough caseload with these clients that she has to defend. But yeah, so LaTosha Daniels sounds like she's going to get back up on the stand, y'all.
Thank you, Your Honor. If I may call Andrika Brock.
My bad, y'all.
Come on with me, ma'am. Come to us. Stand here, face the judge. Raise your right hand.
Do you swear firm to tell the whole truth? I do. You may have a seat, ma'am.
Can you please state and spell your name?
My name is Andrika Brock. That's Andreka. Last name Brock, Brock.
Ms. Brock, do you know LaTosha Daniels?
I do.
How do you know her?
By blood, she is my cousin. In life, she's my sister.
Have you prepared something that you wanted to read to the court today for the court's consideration on LaTosha's sentencing?
I have.
Would you please read that?
First of all, Your Honor, thank you for allowing me to speak today. I first want to acknowledge the seriousness of this case and the loss that has occurred. Nothing that I say today is meant to minimize that. With a heavy heart, I'm here to ask for grace and mercy because I know my sister beyond this moment. I know her heart. I know her character. She is not defined by the worst moment of her life. She is a mother. to 2 boys who love her deeply and need her. She has always been a present, nurturing, and devoted mother. I have watched her love them, fight for them, pray over them, and show up for them every single day. LaTosha has spent years helping others, counseling men, women, and children who were struggling in life. I watched her start and build a nonprofit to support other people and continued this mission even while facing her own struggles. She has always been the person that people leaned on and poured into these people consistently. But during one of the darkest times of her own life, she was struggling in many ways that we didn't fully see. And as her big sister, I carry that heavily because I feel like I failed her in some way. This does not excuse what happened. But I want you to know that this was not the act of a cold, heartless person. This was a broken person in pain who made a devastating decision. I know that she is remorseful. I've watched her up until trial continue to pour into this nonprofit, helping others, continuing to pour into others, all the while struggling herself. She is a woman who needs accountability, yes, but also compassion and the opportunity for redemption. Your Honor, I respectfully ask that you consider her full life, her service, her motherhood, her mental struggles, and the impact her absence will have on her boys. We're not asking you to ignore what happened. We're asking you for mercy within justice. Thank you.
Thank you.
No, no.
All right, let's get damn name.
You're under, next we would call DeAndre Davis.
Come forward, sir. Stand here. Face the judge. Raise your right hand.
You swear affirm to tell the whole truth.
I do.
All right, you have a seat, sir.
Thank you. Would you please state and spell your name?
DeAndre Davis, DeAndre Davis, DeUndre, last name Davis.
Mr. Davis, do you know LaTosha Daniels?
I do.
How do you know her?
That's my mother.
Have you prepared some words for the court today
I
that you want
have.
her to know about your mom?
I have. I'm Gen Z, so they're on my phone if you don't mind. Mom, I don't ever think I've said this out loud, but you deserve to know watching you become a mother at a young age, it was so much being demanded from you than it should have been. As a young single mom, raising 2 boys, you carry responsibilities that most people don't fully understand. You didn't raise us, you protected us, guided us, and loved us with the strength that we could ever ask for. But things were hard, especially when things were hard. Later, when life changed, you became a wife while raising 3 boys. You had my little brother, and you kept going. You gave, and you gave. Even when you didn't feel appreciated, even when effort seemed unseen, you made sure we always had what we needed. And somehow, even the things we wanted, no matter what it cost you, you turned sacrifice into love. And that we didn't realize how much you was carrying. What hurts my heart the most, but fills it with so much admiration, is at the same time, it's knowing how much you were hurting emotionally while still choosing to be strong for everyone else. You showed up every single day with a smile, encouragement, with love, never letting us see your pain. You put yourself last so we could feel safe, supported, and whole. You was always there for everyone, family, friends, anyone who needed you, while quietly feeling like no one was around for you. Even then, you didn't harden, you didn't stop loving, you didn't stop giving. You continued to put us and others before yourself, and again, because that's who you are. Your love shaped the people we became. Your strength taught us resilience, your sacrifice taught us empathy, and your heart taught us what's real and what unconditional love looks like. I see you now. I see everything you did. I see everything you endured. And I want you to know you were never invisible. You were never alone. You're always appreciated. And you're the best mother I could ever ask for. Thank you for being our foundation, our safe place, and our example of selfless love. I'm proud to be your child. I'm proud to call you my mother. This storm doesn't last forever. God has never failed us, and He won't fail now. Stay kingdom focused and love up, because even through it all, we got. I love you, Mama.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Let me just say something really quick. So you heard him say mother of 3, right? And then her sister said mother of 2, correct? So this is something I saw. This was some months ago. We talked about it once in members. One of her sons was involved in a one of her sons was involved in a unaliving of a girlfriend and himself. I'm gonna just say it just like that. I'm sure you understand exactly what I'm saying. Unalived the girlfriend and then himself. Someone had mentioned it to me, and then someone came in my comments on Facebook. Shouts out to Facebook. Somebody was in the comments and said that it wasn't a surprise. I can't even put it the way they put it, but basically, this woman had a son who did what he did, and then not a short period of time later, just not really, just bad. So, just to let you know, if anyone kind of thought of like, didn't she say 2 kids? Didn't he just say mother of 3? It is mother. She had 3 children. 2 are surviving. 1 has passed. He took himself out after he took out his girlfriend. So that was a whole nother thing. We never really talked about it in depth. But that was the situation with LaToshia Daniels and her 3 children. Now 2 surviving because of that particular situation. So just to add a little context to that number discrepancy, that she lost one of her children, maybe less than a year before her situation of taking out Pastor Brodus Perry. So yeah. Hey, Sensible. Y'all, we're dealing with a little lag issue, so just bear with me. Okay, here we
Your Honor,
go.
I would call LaTosha Daniels to the stand.
Uh-oh.
Would you please state and spell your name?
LaToshia Daniels, LATOSHIA Daniels, DANIELS.
Ms. Daniels, you understand why we're here today.
Yes,
We're asking the court to consider mitigating factors for your sentencing.
yes.
If at any point you need some water, or you just need a minute, let me know. Now, you testified at trial, right?
Yes.
So the judge will take into consideration everything that you've already testified to. So we're gonna focus on some things that you didn't testify about in the trial, okay?
Okay.
The first thing that I want to talk to you about is your family, okay? Can you please let the judge know who all is here for you today?
My son, DeAndre Davis. My sister cousin, Andrika Brock. My husband, Lonnie Nelson. My baby sister, Ebony Coben. My brother-in-law. I'm sorry. My brother-in-law, Alpha Coben. My middle sister, Nicole Curley. My mother, Annie Marbury. My inner circle and dear friend, Karma Gardner. My lovely auntie, Barbara Ganaway. The matriarch of our family, Nettie Curley. My cousin, Frederick Daniels. Miss Tammy. My prayer warrior. My everything, Aunt Gladys, Curly, and Mr. Henry. And I also have LaShawn Hill and Janet Hill.
And Kendall Simmons as well.
Oh, yes.
As part of preparation for this hearing, did your friends and family prepare character letters?
Yes.
I'm going to pass you forward a pack of character letters and ask you if you recognize who these are from, okay?
Read them or just, like the name, just look to see.
If you want to just list off who they're from, you can. If the court would like that for the record.
I just want to say it's crazy to me how a woman like this, I think Latasha has been married. She was married the first time. She divorced that guy, got married again. And that was the guy that she went into therapy for with the pastor whose marriage she broke up because she killed him. Somehow, some nut job man found her and decided to wife her up. So she's on like at least her third husband, which is crazy to me. And that he's there for her sentencing of killing another man who she was fooling around with upon her exit from her second marriage. So her third husband is there for the sentencing of her killing someone else's husband as she was leaving her second marriage. How does this even happen? Like, that is so embarrassing. I'm just saying, I'm sorry.
Alpha Coben. Ebony Coben. Gladys Curley. LaShawn Dunn. Ingrid Green. Dr. LaShawn Hill,
I'm not going to even say, is there a shortage of men in Memphis? Is there a shortage of decent women? You know what I'm saying? And see, Brodus Perry was married to Miss Tabitha. They were fooling around when they still lived in Arkansas. So Brodus and Tabitha had left Arkansas and moved to Memphis. LaTosha was salty because Brodus had decided to cut things off after he and his wife went to Memphis and he became a senior pastor at another church. She was salty. So she followed him from Arkansas one day. She was mad because he basically swerved on her in a text message. So she got her gun, she went to the pawn shop. Well, he had already taken her gun before, right? Then she went, got another gun from the pawn shop or gun store, whatever, and then went ahead and went to Memphis. But really, it's not even a shortage of men or women. This woman wanted this man who was married. So I guess to your point, could she have found another guy in Memphis? Probably, but she probably needed to find one back in Arkansas. But obviously she can find a man because she's already gotten remarried. All right, I'm gonna go back and let's just finish this up, minimal interruptions. But I'm just like, girl, this is really bad.
Miss Yvonne Williams, Janet Hill, I'm just gonna say CJ,
That's her son.
Dr. Letitia Johnson, Annie Marbury, Amy R. Miller, Devin Smith, Marilyn Stewart, Kendall Summons, Jocelyn Thompson, Brenda Ellis Williams, Teresa Williams, Pastor Ronald Bailey,
Yeah, she's reading letters of support or giving the
Gardner,
names of all of her support. The fact that she was a domestic violence counselor and you went to this man's home when he tried to separate himself from you and confronted his wife, who didn't know anything about the affair, according to her, and then shot him dead in his own home and then tried to kill the lady on top of it, ma'am, no.
Dr. Hill and Amy Miller loved me, they said too. Oh, God. April Taylor,
Your Honor, I would ask that it has exhibit A sticker on it from the sentencing memorandum. And Your Honor, that does include the ones filed with the sentencing memorandum as well as the additional ones received after that file.
show the care to the legislative.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Some of the names it sounds like are duplicate. Like when they said, "Well, who's here?" and she said, "My grandmother, my this, my that, my whoever." Sounds like some of those names are the same names. Who these people are, we don't know, but they're just letters of support. Like when Diddy was being sentenced and he had all those letters of support in his docket. Like anyone else being sentenced, people will send letters of support or letters to the judge to say, please sentence this person to the max. They took my dad away, or whatever the case might be. So these were letters that were written in her favor. And there might be letters that were written in the favor of the victims to say, this person took our pastor, this person took my brother, this person ended my marriage abruptly, this person was in my marriage and ended it abruptly, type of thing. So just letters of support. I don't know who everyone is, but I guess people who feel like she deserves a break. But I'm going to just say this, considering that she was a domestic violence counselor, she had a particular skill set professionally, where not even just that she had the skills, but she also should have had a professional network, or had a professional network more than the average person, with other professionals who were highly skilled at helping her. And she, unfortunately, I don't know if she said she did seek out some help, but clearly, um it went in another direction. So she had resources. Thank you. She definitely had the resources and network available, and didn't utilize them.
You're one very important person in your life who is not here today because you're no longer with us.
Yes,
Who is that?
my oldest son, Deontay Davis.
And when did he pass?
November 8th, 2019, 4 months after I was incarcerated.
Did that pass suicide?
He died by suicide.
And were you able to go to his funeral?
No,
Did you endure that loss while you were in custody?
yes,
Now, I want to kind of shift gears, okay? I want to talk to you about your employment, okay? I'm going to pass you forward a document. And tell me if you recognize it.
Yeah, my bad, guys. I thought it was before the suicide, but it was after she was already incarcerated. So he, it's unfortunate that that happened, and her son, had his situation. It's just terrible. It's terrible.
this is my resume.
Tell me kind of a general breakdown of your employment history.
Before incarceration, I was a clinical mental and behavioral health therapist where I was in private practice for many years. I also founded a nonprofit organization called Links of Love.
What does Links of Love do?
We help. Well, after incarceration, we started doing business as Love 365, and at that time we began to help young adults navigate through life to be spiritually, mentally, and emotionally healthy while navigating through life, so that they may build resilience and thrive through life.
And that was, you expanded on that after you were released on bond.
Yes,
What else did you do employment-wise while you were on bond?
I worked at Whataburger, where I started off at the bottom, and within 6 months became the restaurant trainer. I left that position and went and began to become a barista at a local coffee cafe.
Does that resume accurately reflect your employment history and your educational history?
Yes, I also started a business where I became a life coach.
Your Honor, I'd ask that that be the next exhibit.
Any objection?
No.
Let's show, the finished resume is exhibit C to this one.
Your Honor, may I approach the witness?
Yes.
Ms. Daniels, I'm handing you another pack of photographs. Do you recognize those photographs?
I do.
What are those from?
These are from two various community service projects where the young adults, although we work through spiritually, mental, and emotional resilience, we also give back to the community. So these are two projects. So one, we did a project where we painted the church parking lot so they could have lines so they can park. And then the second one was a back to school giveaway where we gave back school supplies to the local community.
Are those the only two community service projects you've ever done?
No.
Your Honor, I'd ask that that be made the next letter of exhibit. A cumulative exhibit, please.
We'll show the service purchases cumulative exhibit C.
What other types of service-related acts have you done?
Before incarceration, I was involved in numerous community organizations where I did community service all the time through my sorority, Sigma Gamma Rho, being a member of Eastern Star, Prince Hall affiliated, the National Social.
She's just hoping she's going to mention something that's going to make somebody give her a little bit of a break. She's just name dropping right now. It's like, ma'am, seriously? Seriously, I'm sorry.
Workers Association, Black Social Workers Association. I was always involved in community service, even through my church.
Did you continue community service after being released out on bond?
I did that through my nonprofit as I work with the young adults.
Did you have more than just those two activities, or were just those just the two that we have pictures of?
Those are just the two that we have pictures of.
Your Honor, may I approach the witness?
Yes.
Ms. Daniels, I'm handing you a stack of books. If you would please look through those and tell me if you recognize them.
I do.
Please tell me what those are.
These are journals and books that I have written once I got out on bond, and that they are now available on Amazon and other local.
Your Honor, I'd ask that that be made a cumulative exhibit.
Any objection?
No, ma'am.
All right, we'll show the book.
Why did she have to say these are my books? I've never seen a sentencing like this. Are you guys like scratching your head? These are my books now available on Amazon so people can search her and go buy her books. Right. It's giving and the links will be down in the description box.
Brought by the defendant's exhibit D. You said, I'm sorry. D. Is it E? Yes, E, I'm sorry. Yes, E.
Can you please look at each of those?
She switched up real quick, didn't she? She went from, well, she was doing that in the trial, remember? She was like, I have a playlist, y'all. If you didn't watch this trial, it's a quick trial. It was only like 3 days. It went pretty quick and it was dramatic. It was action packed 3 days. She went from she loved him, you know, all of these things to anger to all of like she switches up very quickly. So I worked in a behavioral medicine psychiatry for years. For a few years, I'm going to tell you, many of these people go into the field because their own personal traumas and are nuts themselves. I totally believe it. Also, some people don't some therapists need therapy because of all of the trauma bonding that you end up doing. And also people who are overly empathetic. It's a lot. Social workers, it happens to social workers as well. So, yeah, unfortunately, there's a lot of fallout from that type of a job, from that type of work. It's a lot. Anyway, let's get back into this, y'all.
Indicate the title and kind of a brief description of what they are.
This first one, Authentic, is just a writing journal. A Prayer for Mom, a journal for teens with incarcerated mothers, is a guided journal for teens who have incarcerated mothers. A Mother's Prayer is a journal for incarcerated mothers. It's also a guided journal.
Were those two specifically kind of inspired by your personal experience in custody?
Yes. Know Thyself is just a journal, and it has encouraging words for women as they write through each day. Kingdom Man is a writing journal for men. Kingdom Teen, 1 Peter 2:9, True Royalty, is a writing journal for teens. Level Up, Gaining Power During the Fight, is the beginning of memoir of sharing my story and my journey as I went through incarceration and learning to gain power during that time. Feel, Deal, Heal, Acquiring Love, Liberty Over Vulnerable Emotions, is again part of my journey and story as I begin my healing journey through this process.
Now, I noticed several of those are writing journals. Why did you focus on creating writing journals for people?
Journaling is a coping skill that I use throughout all my life, but found it to be very necessary and needed during this particular season of my life.
And did you want to share that with others so
Yeah.
that they could help find that comfort?
Yes.
I want to talk to you next about your mental health, okay?
Yes.
Now, you have a master's degree in social work, right?
Yes.
Well,
I have.
let me do this while we're talking about it. May I approach? We'll back up just a minute. Do you recognize those documents?
I do.
What are those?
These are photographs of my degrees.
Okay, and what schools are they from and what are they degrees for?
The University of Arkansas at Little Rock, a Bachelor's of Arts in Criminal Justice. University of Arkansas at Little Rock, a Master's of Social Work. Walden University, Doctor of Social Work.
I misspoke, you have a doctorate.
Yeah.
If I were the judge, this would be precisely the reason why you would be getting the sentence that you deserve, because this lady had a lot of skills to make a different choice on that day.
The next letter exhibit, I believe that would be F.
Any objection? No. All right. So defendant's degrees marked as exhibit F.
And Ms. Daniels, you've dedicated your life to studying and learning about mental health, right?
Yes.
But you yourself have struggled with mental health difficulties.
Yes.
As part of that struggle, since being incarcerated and even before, had you sought mental health professional care?
I have.
Okay. What were you doing prior to incarceration?
Prior to incarceration, I had begun to do individual therapy.
Okay. Now, what about when you went into custody?
When I went into custody, there's not a lot there, but I did have the ability to talk to one of the clinicians that come in that's on contract.
And you took advantage of that. You did see the psychologists available
Yeah.
within the facility.
Yes,
And when you got out, did you resume mental health treatment?
I did.
Who did you see?
I saw Amy Miller.
Okay. And that was an individual that provided a letter to the court.
Yes.
How long did you see Amy Miller?
I saw her the entire time that I was out on bond.
Okay.
So for 2.5 years.
Did she ever give you any clinical diagnoses?
She did.
What did she diagnose you with?
She did major depression and PTSD.
And then as part of our preparations for trial, did you go through a psychological evaluation with Dr. Bidding?
I did.
Do you recall Dr. Bidding's diagnosis?
Major depression, avoidant personality, and borderline personality.
Do you recognize while you're in custody this time, do you intend to continue to pursue mental health treatment?
I have pursued it.
Tell me about that.
I have met with Dr. Mason, who is in the facility.
Why does that matter?
Being mentally healthy is part of my overall well-being. And so I am dedicated to living and I want to be healthy.
And are we sitting here today because of a mental health crisis?
Yes.
I want to talk to you about while you're in custody, okay? You've been in custody since the verdict came back, right?
Yes.
Have you availed yourself of any other opportunities within the facility?
Yes, the facility has where you can go onto a tablet and complete various courses. And so I took advantage of doing those courses while I've been incarcerated.
Your Honor, may I pass forward a group of documents?
Yes.
Do you recognize what those are?
Yes, these are the certificates I've gotten from completing various courses.
Would you please, for the record, read what course they are and their date of completion?
Entrepreneurship, November 2025. Origin Wellbeing Academy, December 2025.
Let me just say something. Her getting online and finishing a bunch of certificates, these courses are designed for sometimes people who have had little to no formal education. Maybe they have completed high school, but there's a lot of people who get incarcerated on a regular basis. Let's say that spend more than 2 weeks in jail, may or may not even have a high school diploma. Okay. And the longer the stay, it could be the less education they have, the least likely they are to have a bachelor's degree or an associate's degree or some sort of skilled training. Okay. And the fact that she got on the tablet and completed a bunch of certifications on some very basic things. This woman holds a PhD, several master's degrees, and bachelor's degrees. This lady is clearly intelligent and can whip through these things. Like, this means nothing. This just means you didn't have anything else to do and you went ahead and completed these certificates. Someone who can barely read or someone who never went to school, that would be a little bit more impressive. But this lady completing these courses that are designed for people, not you, I'm not impressed because, ma'am, you've got a whole PhD. These are not for you. These are for people who don't understand why they're where they're at or need some further hand holding. You have the skills. You just showed us 7 books you wrote. What do you get? Like, this is stupid.
Enduring Skills, December 2020.
Unbelievable. I just cannot believe her lawyer is taking her through this exercise because this is almost like embarrassing.
25. The Only Person You Cheat Is You, December 2025. Explore a Career in Electrical, January 2026. Digital Marketing Certification Preparation, January 2026. Wellness Recovery Action Plan Reentry, January 2026. The Master Plan, January 2026.
Your Honor, I'd ask that that be the next letter of exhibit.
Any objection?
No, ma'am.
Show certificate. Gang certificate, exhibit G. Exhibit G.
And I understand the limitations of a class on a tablet, but did you find any of those helpful or insightful?
Yes, most of those that I took intentionally because they all, for the most part, assisted me with continuing with enhancing my mental and emotional well-being.
With those sorts of courses, is it kind of one of those things you get out of it what you put into it?
Yes.
And are you just going through the motions to get certificates, or are you still pursuing betterment?
No, I'm pursuing betterment.
Now we're moving into the closing end of things, okay? I know that there are some apologies that you wanted to make and some words that you wanted to say to the court. So now is your time and your opportunity to do that, okay?
Your Honor, to this court, if I may start with the Perry family. To the Perry family, no words can express the pain that I feel, nor will it ever take away the pain that you feel. But I want to say to you that I'm godly sorrowful. And I know it doesn't take back what has happened, nor does it negate what has happened. But I want you to know that I am so sorry for the pain that I've caused you. To Tabitha, I'm so sorry. I never meant to hurt you. And I pray that all of you guys will forgive me. But please know, I never meant for any of this to happen. To my family, I'm so sorry that I've taken you guys through this. Never meant to hurt or harm anyone. And I'm so godly sorrowful. Judge, I know what I did. I wasn't in the best health. And I know it doesn't take away what happened. But please, know that I'm godly sorrowful. And I ask that you extend grace and mercy.
That's all I have, Your Honor.
Cross-examination.
No questions.
All right, you may step down, ma'am. State, I think you said you had a letter that you.
I do, as part of my argument is what I was
Okay.
gonna do.
Okay. All right, final argument. Start with the state.
So, I filed some enhancement factors, and I want to talk about those briefly, and then I also want to talk about one that wasn't in my filing. So the first is there's more than one victim, and had the jury And this applies also to 3 that I'm talking about now, but it also applies to 12 as far as this argument goes. Had the jury come back and convicted of criminal attempt murder or and included that wasn't misdemeanor reckless endangerment,
You
I
said 3 and what was the other?
12.
3 and 12. Okay.
And 12 is the action resulted in serious bodily injury to the victim, not intended. So the argument against those would be that because Miss Archie was a victim in another county indictment, that you couldn't use that to enhance count 1 of the indictment or the murder 2. But because the jury didn't find, particularly as to 12, with reckless endangerment doesn't require injury. It just requires, and you know, if you from the statute, a person commits an offense who recklessly engages in conduct that places or may place another person in imminent danger of death or serious bodily injury. So our argument is that those 2 factors can apply because of the jury's verdict. They didn't find Ms. Daniels guilty of particularly injuring Ms. Perry, but even that Ms. Perry was necessarily a victim, that she committed an act that may have placed another person in serious bodily injury. Also, for enhancement factor 9, that employed a firearm, I think it's conceded that applies to count 1. I submit it also applies to count 2 because misdemeanor reckless endangerment, an element of that is not a firearm. So that enhancement factor should apply to both counts. And then I would argue enhancement factor 10. This occurred in public, in an apartment complex, some of it outside on the balcony of an apartment complex in the middle of Carterville. So enhancement factor 10 should apply. After the enhancement factors in the sentencing memorandum, the defendant is asking to be sentenced as an especially mitigated offender. Just to take, in my mind, the concession that enhancement factor 9 applies takes that off the table when the court can't consider it, because under the statute 4035-109, the court would have to find mitigation but no enhancement factors. So if the court finds any enhancement factors, not that the mitigation outweighs the enhancement, 13.5 is off the table and we start at 15. And then finally, I just want to talk a little bit about the facts, and I'll kind of tell the court why maybe at the end of mentioning these. The proof was that she drove 3 hours. That during that 3-hour drive, she stopped and she bought a gun. The proof was that she went to his house, that she waited for him to get home. That she sat in the living room, spoke to BRODUS Perry and Miss Archie for a substantial period of time. Got up, was being walked out, grabbed a gun that she had purchased that same day, turned around and shot until she ran out of ammunition, hitting him 5 times and killing him, and also hitting Miss Archie, causing serious bodily injury. This was done in front of the murder, was done in front of Miss Archie, who was his wife at the time. This is a 38-year-old, educated, mature lady. She had been married twice. She had been divorced twice. She was voluntarily having what was a secret affair. And that very day, just before buying the gun, she had received a text message from him saying that he wanted to end this affair. I tell the court all this because, and the court heard that, because even though the jury came back with second-degree murder, according to State v. Winfield, 23 Southwest 3rd, 279,
Can you repeat that site?
23 Southwest 3rd, 279. The court can base the sentence on the underlying facts of the offense for which she was acquitted, which is first-degree murder. And the reasoning goes that the jury's verdict simply says that the state didn't prove premeditation beyond a reasonable doubt. The standard of proof in this sentencing hearing is preponderance of the evidence. And so the court can consider all of those facts that I just laid out in front of you showing premeditation under the preponderance of the evidence standard and use those facts, and you can't go outside of the convicted offense's range. But certainly you can use that when considering what's the appropriate sentence for second-degree murder. And finally, before I get to the victim impact letter, Miss Daniels has done a lot of things throughout the trial, throughout the sentencing hearing, wanting the court to consider her the victim, wanting the jury to consider her the victim. One of those things in particular that I found telling, and that looks at her mindset, is she's mentioned in the trial and today, and it's tragic and it's devastating that her son committed suicide after she was charged with this crime and while she was incarcerated. But what she has never mentioned to the jury or to the court, and it's on page 8 of the sentencing hearing, is that her son killed his girlfriend before he committed suicide.
No, he did not, girl. He went ahead. He's letting the truth be known. That ma'am was busy with Pastor Brodus when her son probably really needed her. That's what I'm gonna assume that he's getting ready to say. As a mother, you needed to be on the job with your children, but you were busy chasing after somebody else's husband. And look.
And so there's another victim that's involved in that Miss Daniels does not mention ever. There are also other victims in this case. And while Miss Daniels may have been depressed and may have not liked that her secret affair was ending, certainly BRODUS PERRY is the victim and not LATOSHIA Daniels. And certainly Tabitha Archie is the victim and not LATOSHIA Daniels. Miss Calvetta Perry, who is the mother of BRODUS PERRY, has asked the court to consider the following. And she says, "Good morning, everyone. These past several years have been so hard on my family. There is not a day that goes by without thinking of my son, who was the baby of the bunch. I miss his calls, checking in just to say, 'Hey, Mom, how are you doing?' I miss him every day. I do have his friends here in Jacksonville who check on me. I consider them all my sons. I pray whatever the outcome, it's in our Heavenly Father's hands. I pray for the strength every day to get me through. Grief is hard, and I grieve for the loss of BRODUS every day. I will continue to rely on our God daily. Continue to rest, my son. Our God is keeping me. I pray that Ms. Daniels has asked for forgiveness. As the word states, thou shalt not kill. Thank you. And I have a copy of that I would like to make the next exhibit to this.
No, Your Honor.
And I would ask the
I would
court,
ask for a copy then.
All right, we'll show, the victim's mother's statement is exhibit H. Okay. Does the state have a copy? You have a copy of it? For Ms. Fuchs?
we will give this piece.
Okay,
I will have it printed.
okay, all right. Yes.
And I'm not gonna throw a number out there. I think legally 13.5 is not on the table, based even just on the concession and the sentencing memorandum. One person was killed, another person seriously injured. I submit a lot of proof of premeditation. The sentence should be closer to the top of the range than the bottom of the range. And we'd ask the court to sentence her as such.
The defense found a bunch of mitigating factors. Do you have a position on those?
I know.
All right.
Your Honor, first to address Mr. McAlpin's statement, the situation regarding her son, that would not have been appropriately before the jury. That would not have been relevant to the proceedings before the jury. That happened after this offense. So that is why that did not come up to the jury. And Ms. Daniels is the one who provided that information to probation for it to have been included in the report. So I would disagree with the fact that she has never mentioned that before. The state did not file intent to seek consecutive sentencing in this matter. And the state argued more enhancement factors than it actually filed on. But I believe I have addressed all of the enhancement factors in my sentencing memorandum. To go through briefly on the enhancement factors to respond to Mr. McAlpin prior to arguing the mitigating factors. As to factor number 1, she does not have any criminal history. She does not have any criminal convictions or criminal behavior in addition to those necessary to establish the appropriate range. So that would be any situations outside of these events that are before the court for sentencing. There has been no proof of any criminal convictions or criminal behavior by Ms. Daniels. So I would submit that factor is not applicable. As to factor 3, that the offense involved more than one victim. Your Honor, the case law on this is clear. It is not applicable to the facts of this case under State v. Enfield, and that is 70 Southwest 3rd, 698 at page 706, decided by the Tennessee Supreme Court in 2002. When the Tennessee Supreme Court found that there cannot be multiple victims for any one charge when there are named victims in the indictment. There must be additional proof of other people in order to establish more than one victim. Here, what we have proof for is Mr. Perry and Mrs. Perry at the time the shots were fired. Both are named victims. There was not any testimony about anyone else out in the area that would have qualified as a victim during the shooting. And I believe the shooting actually took place within the confines of the apartment, and there was no one else in the apartment, and that was testified to. There was no proof here or at trial of anyone else that was placed in danger. So I would submit enhancement factor 3 cannot apply in compliance with the law. Mr. McAlpin argued factor 10, for the same reasons that the more than one victim cannot apply, that cannot apply either under State v. Kelly, which is 34 Southwest 3rd, 471. Because there was not any testimony about someone else whose life was placed in danger by the actions of Ms. Daniels. Therefore, this cannot apply to these facts. There is a burden of proof on that, and the state has not provided proof regarding those factors. As to 12, the intentional infliction of particularly great injury. Your Honor, State v. Huey, which is a Tennessee criminal. I'm sorry?
You said 12, okay.
Yes. State v. Huey, which is an unpublished opinion that can be found at M 2000-02793-CCA-R3-CD and at 2002 Westlaw 51713. I have that cited in my brief at page 20. The court in that matter looked at this factor particularly and said, we see no reason why the rationale would not preclude the enhancement of a defendant's sentence under enhancement factor 12 when a conviction has been obtained against a defendant for the serious bodily injury or death suffered by the person other than the intended victim. And in this case, Ms. Daniels was indicted for first-degree murder of Mr. Perry, criminal attempt first-degree murder of Tabitha Perry, and the employing of firearm. The jury came back not finding premeditation at second degree. And as to Ms. Perry, they came back with the reckless endangerment. And Your Honor, the reckless endangerment requires that danger of bodily injury. So I think under State v. Huey, that would be a kind of a double dipping to apply that enhancement based on that language. I don't think it can be. I think clearly it cannot be applied to count 1. But even as to count 2, the reckless act of shooting is what placed Ms. Perry in danger. So I think that is consumed by the elements of the offense. I believe that was all of the factors argued by the state. They did file also on the use of a gun. And that would be enhancement factor 9, I believe. The courts have repeatedly said, yes, the defendant possessed or employed a firearm. The courts have repeatedly said that they found error with courts for not applying this in murder cases. Because there's kind of a nonsensical nature to enhancing for the use of a firearm when the firearm is what was used to achieve the murder. It almost, it equates to an incentivizing to use another deadly weapon, which doesn't make any sense. So the courts have said that this can apply to second-degree murder. I will concede that. I will also note that the court has discretion in whether to apply enhancement factors and what weight to give them. So if Your Honor does apply this factor, I would ask that you give it very little weight, as it is such an inherent part of the offense itself. In my memorandum, I did argue regarding the reckless endangerment with a deadly weapon. So I would just note that the deadly weapon, again, was what was used to accomplish the reckless placement in imminent danger. Moving now, Your Honor, to mitigating factors. Your Honor, we filed several mitigating factors. We are asking the court to consider factor number 2, which is that the defendant acted under strong provocation. a lot of these factors that we have filed on rely heavily on the testimony that came forward in trial, not just from Ms. Daniels, but from the officers on the scene, from Tabitha Archie, from Dr. Bidding. All of this testimony combined is what provides our basis for these mitigating factors. And particularly as to Ms. Daniels' testimony, she described the relationship that she and Mr. Perry had, and how it, especially at the end, was somewhat emotionally tumultuous, and that she was being pulled through this emotional whiplash, especially that day. And that the moment that she pulled out that gun, she was screaming, "You broke my heart." That she was so completely overcome by her emotions, coupled with her own mental health crisis, that qualifies as an adequate provocation here. And Your Honor, I think that this also, it should be noted that the objections that we made regarding the jury instructions, because the jury was not able, if they follow the law, to move down to voluntary manslaughter to consider whether there was that adequate provocation, because of the way the jury instructions are formatted. And I know Your Honor is very familiar with that argument, but I'd ask you to take that into consideration, and not dismiss it because the jury came back in second degree rather than voluntary manslaughter. Mitigating factor number 3, substantial grounds exist tending to excuse or justify the defendant's criminal conduct, though failing to establish a defense. Your Honor, again, this, so many times throughout the sentencing memorandum, we do reference back to the emotional and mental health crisis that Ms. Daniels was suffering from at the time of this incident. And that was apparent, again, across the testimony. What happened on April the 4th is not a true depiction of who Ms. Daniels is as a person. All of these people are here to tell you that. Number 8, Your Honor, that the defendant was suffering from a mental or physical condition that significantly reduced the defendant's culpability for the defense. He did provide proof during the trial of her mental health situation. I'd ask the court to take that into consider, Dr. Bidding's testimony, that this was the result of an emotional and mental health crisis. So relying heavily on Dr. Bidding's testimony for that particular mitigating factor. And Your Honor, I think that that factor should be given significant weight. Again, the actions of April the 4th were not typical of the LATOSHIA Daniels that everyone who knows her knows. And it was the result of this devastating situation. And it had devastating results. There is nothing to try to unvictimize Mr. Perry or Tabitha Perry. That no part of that. Ms. Daniels hurts for what she did to them. And not just because she's sitting here. But she was also suffering that day too. I don't think that those two things are mutually exclusive. She's not asking the court to consider her a victim. She's asking the court to consider her and to take her and her mental health into consideration when sentencing. And that's appropriately. Factor number 11, the defendant, although guilty of a crime, committed the offense under such unusual circumstances that it is unlikely that a sustained intent to violate the law motivated the criminal conduct. Again, Your Honor, we would rely heavily on the testimony from trial. Immediately after this happened, Ms. Daniels was pointing the gun to herself. She attempted to commit suicide in the hospital. This was not the result of a desire to go out and hurt people. the result of an emotional and mental health crisis that started at a suicide attempt and ended in a suicide attempt prior to her being taken into custody. And Your Honor, again, the evidence at trial supports the application of mitigating factor number 11. The catch-all mitigating factor number 13, any factor consistent with the purposes of this chapter. Your Honor, the primary purpose of Ms. Daniels' testimony was laying out the exhibits and the proof necessary for the application of various factors under the catch-all factor. First of all, remorse. And remorse is a qualifying consideration for mitigation under State v. McKnight, which is 900 Southwest 2nd 36. Relying on both her testimony today and her testimony at trial, Ms. Daniels has repeatedly emphasized how remorseful she is for her conduct. This is something that she grapples with every single day, and knowing the pain that she caused to Mr. Perry's family, taking his life, to Tabitha Perry, Archie, to her family, to Ms. Daniels' loved ones and her family. She is extremely remorseful, and I would ask the court to give a lot of weight to that factor. Second, she has no criminal history at all. And it is, again, an appropriate mitigator under State v. Kelly, which is 34 Southwest 3rd 471. She has a very strong family and support system, as is apparent in the courtroom today by these numerous people who are here to support her. And that is something that the court can take into consideration as a mitigating factor. She has a positive work history. The court has a copy of her degrees, a copy of her resume, information about her community service through her nonprofit. And that is also appropriately before the court as a mitigating factor under State v. McKnight. I also think that it should be considered that she got her education and pursued a impressive career after becoming pregnant at 17. And I mean, just to overcome the hurdles that she overcame, to do all of those things while dealing with her own mental health issues and parenting. She is an extremely motivated person that has always tried to seek better for herself and her family. And Your Honor, I did provide citations that the work history is an appropriate mitigating factor. She has a strong history of community mindedness before incarceration and after being released on bond. She continued her community service activities. She established a nonprofit. She has written books to help others navigate their way through the mental health crisis that she herself has had to navigate through, and try to give people tools. This is very real for her in the books, the journals for the incarcerated mothers and the children of incarcerated mothers, especially after having her lost her child while she was in custody. She has a positive educational background. She has an incredibly impressive educational background all the way up to a doctorate degree. She has dedicated her life to helping others, as is evidenced by her profession choice and the books that she has provided. The court is to take into consideration the strong R testing, and she came back with a low risk of recidivism. And the only risks that they noted were mental health related. So, Your Honor, I would ask that the court give strong deference to the fact that she is not a risk of recidivism according to the strong R. The state did not request consecutive sentencing. I would ask that your honor not find for consecutive sentencing. I don't think that any of the Wilkerson factors apply here. In order to find a dangerous offender enhancement, which is the most, thank you, Your Honor. Your Honor, I agree with Mr. McAlpin. The concession, as to the count regarding the gun, if Your Honor applies that enhancement factor, then she cannot be found an especially mitigated offender. I think that's State v. Harris, if I'm not mistaken, or Hicks, I'm sorry. It can only be mitigators found and no enhancements. The court has absolute discretion in what mitigators and what enhancements this court chooses to utilize. I would ask the court to find the mitigators and not find the enhancers and simply serve 13.5 years as an especially mitigated offender. If Your Honor does find that the firearm offense applies as an enhancement factor, I would ask the court to still find the mitigators that we have provided proof for in the record. And with that enhancement factor, which I would submit is the only enhancement factor that may be able to apply, that the court grant Ms. Daniels a 15-year sentence with the misdemeanor reckless endangerment run concurrently. Thank you.
Anything else, Ms. McCall? I need to take a brief recess.
Court stands in a brief recess.
Okay, let's see. Is she back on the bench? Look at this.
All right, you have been watching the sentencing hearing of LATOSHIA Daniels, who is, of course, the Arkansas woman who was convicted of killing Minister BRODUS Perry. Now, you've been hearing the arguments from her defense attorneys about some of the special circumstances and some of the arguments they're presenting to the judge prior to the actual sentencing being handed down. The judge has just asked for a recess, so we are going to take a break. We will continue this coverage when the hearing continues.
So I wonder, was the judge taking a break to kind of review her notes? And then we'll hear from the victim, because Tabitha and Brodus's two sisters, I'm glad that they let her go first, do the little pony show first, and then the actual shooting victim and the shooting victim / widow of Brodus. And I mean, she's just a multi-level victim. The man was cheating on her behind her back with this homicidal lady who came to the house under the cover of, I don't even know. At that point, the gig was up. She was already revealing that they were in a relationship. And you come to my new apartment out the blue. You waiting for my husband to come home. I mean, it was just crazy. Absolutely nuts. So, and then you shoot my husband. Like, this is nuts. So I don't know how this is going to go. Now, the prosecutor bringing up that her son unalived the girlfriend and himself. I mean, I'm not going to say that was a low blow. I mean, it is what it is. And LATOSHIA was very consumed and concerned with this man when clearly there were situations brewing that she probably could have tended to at the home. And maybe, I don't know, that might not be a fair thing to say. She may not have really known what was going on with her son, but the prosecutor mentioned it. So obviously they must have some information, and she included it in her PSI, her pre-sentencing investigation interview. So she she doesn't mind her information being used for people to feel sorry for her or to give her mercy, but she doesn't want it, you know, her lawyer takes exception with it being utilized when to scrutinize. I will always wonder if he really told her to go to his house. Yeah, we don't know. We don't know if he told her that or not. I wonder, did she know where he lived? How would she have known? Girl, she was a resourceful side chick, so she probably already knew where he stayed. I don't know, or maybe they gave the address out for housewarming gifts, or from the church. Who knows? It's terrible. Let's see. She really did flip on a dime though when she was crying. When she was crying and then her attorney asked her to talk about her accomplishments, she turned those waterworks off really quick. And then she says that the doctor diagnosed her with borderline personality and personality disorder. I can believe it. Borderline personality disorder. A serious chronic mental health condition characterized by a pervasive pattern of instability in moods, self image, behavior, and relationships. Well, I mean, look. Right. She might be. And you know what? It's her responsibility to seek actual professional treatment, not the pastor. The pastor was not a professional coach or counselor. I don't know what she was thinking seeking out. I think she look, at the end of the day, she liked Brodus Perry. You can't tell me otherwise. She liked Brodus Perry. She sought him out maybe because she was, I don't know. I can't believe for a minute that she was taking counseling from this man seriously when he didn't have the credentials um for uh for counseling. Maybe pastoral counseling, maybe, but not psychological marriage counseling. I mean, how are you going to get marriage counseling from the man on the second visit? He's bedding you down and he's married. You're married, he's married, and you're there for marriage counseling. Didn't you? That's a fail. And you're a professional. You are a certified professional, and the counselor that you sought out to help you with your marriage is bedding you down, and both of you two are in committed relationships. How's that work? She should have knew she was in trouble at that moment. Girl, ma'am. Let's see. Remember last time the judge put us on hold? She was gone for like a very cute, she was gone for a while. And she's got a PhD. She knows, she has a network. Not only is she a PhD, but this woman belongs to a huge sorority. She's a Sigma Gamma Rho. She's an Eastern Star. You have an incredible network, not only of professionals, but you have a sorority full of professionals. You have a sisterhood full of professionals. You belong to church. So you are plugged in with lots and lots and lots of different people. This lady had resources. Now I've got the hiccups, guys. He was her therapy. He was her therapy, YT Watcher. Clearly. But, and that's a shame on his part, because had he taken his situation more seriously, he might be alive. You know what I mean? If you wanted to have a girlfriend, or you wanted to have something outside of your wife, then this was the wrong person to do it with, because it cost him his life. Wow. Right. The other the senior pastor was aware. I'm sure they've gotten plenty of flack about that. I think there was a reason, to the person who said so psychopath. I think I mean, that's crazy. Look, not crazy. I hate to use that word, but that is insane. That the son was homicidal, okay? And then here she is, and she threatened to unalive herself as well. Like, this is really just a bad chain of events. I think that I don't know, sometimes people need to be saved from themselves, and maybe this particular situation for her, the best thing for her would be institution. Oh, Portia, the girls are saying hi. Bougie Gang saying, hey, Portia. It was funny. I was watching a video, and the whole video, I'm moving right along. And at the very end, I said goodbye to everybody. And then you hear Portia go, "Ruh, ruh." Portia had to put her little goodbye, her little 2 cents goodbye in family history. Yeah. Maybe it's best that she goes somewhere where, yeah. Yep. All right, you guys. I wonder how long she's going to be. This lady argued her point, though. I mean, she was definitely earning her check. I wish we could go back to the testimony. What she did was foul. It was absolutely was. Jay Breezy, in a nutshell, it was foul. Absolutely. Okay, let's see. Hold on. Let me see if I can. I wonder what what is the judge doing? I hope she's not sitting there and actually really reading those letters, because to me, what about the person who is undereducated, underrepresented, doesn't have a lot of family? Do they deserve less mercy because they don't have a bunch of people showing up, writing letters and all of the things for them? You know what I mean? It's not fair to somebody who really might deserve a second chance or some leniency because they didn't have a busload, 2 sprinters of people show up, and they may not be as highly educated. I just don't think that that's fair to consider. I think, you do the crime, you get an equal weighting, you get an equal weight and measure from the judge. as to the severity and your opportunity for rehabilitation. This woman's almost 50 years old, and she sought out a very provocative situation that put her in mental distress, knowing fully that she was someone who was in who had challenges already. She was already challenged, and you put yourself in a very stressful situation trying to steal somebody else's husband. She was too much under the radar to be saved from herself. She never let any professional detect her. So she was covering up. She didn't want, I mean, who's going to go and say, "You know what? I'm sleeping with the pastor at my church, at my very big church. Me and Pastor Brodus are in a relationship." And to all the family and friends supporting her, shame on them for certain. Yeah. It's almost like the people that sent the letters for Shakina Thompson, Shakina Thompson, or Sakina rather, excuse me. That was crazy. It was like, ma'am, she went to somebody's house and shot that lady early in the morning, right after she got off work. And on top of it, we can't forget that that one person sent the letter talking about, she asked me to go with her, but I didn't go because they couldn't for whatever reason. And it almost lends to the premeditation. Had she not gotten premeditation, that was the letter right there that she had discussed going down there to a friend, but the friend wouldn't go or didn't go for whatever reason. So all these people sending letters of support now. Okay, so I see your point. It could be a family history, or her son didn't get the help he needed after his mom committed the crime. I mean, after his mom committed the crime, I mean, some people, kind of desperate times call for desperate measures. And maybe in her son's mind, I'm sure knew that that was not a good recourse, but I don't know. It's sad. It's sad. I just, I feel bad for the young man, and of course the victim. Someone lost their daughter. So in all of this, yes, her son unalived himself, but he also killed a innocent young lady. Somebody's young daughter was dating this guy, and this guy, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's just it's this is like a Shakespearean type story. You know what I mean? Like, this is just bad all the way around. Like, it makes you scared for these young people to date, because there's people out here who just can't take a breakup on the chin, like everybody, like all of us who made it this far, who took breakups and kept it moving. It's really scary that there's just a percentage of the population who just can't take it. So her son couldn't take a breakup and did what he did, and on the heels of his mom not being able to take a breakup, and did what she did. Baby, a mess. A mess. Come on, Judge. Is she back? Hold on. Are any of you guys watching Corey Richins? I watched yesterday, and I'm not gonna lie, I fell asleep. It's messy. I don't know what's gonna happen with that, but are you guys watching it? Who's watching Corey Richins? I feel like Afeni Muhammad was supposed to be in court today, but I don't know if we missed it. I need to check. There's another hearing that happened earlier today. If you guys want to watch it, when this one's over, I'll start a new live and we'll come back. Well, I'll make before we hang up, I'll make the live. It was good. It was in Fulton County. It was a situation that happened. It was another situation. This guy, Douglas Hairston. Was anyone watching McBurney's court today? In Fulton County, Judge McBurney had, they were supposed to start a trial today for a guy named Douglas Hairston. And Douglas unalived his girlfriend. This happened, I think did this happen in 2023? Douglas Harrison, 30, was charged with murder, possession of a firearm during the commission of a felony, and possession of a knife during the commission of a felony. Officers were called out just before 8 p.m. to an apartment in the 400 block of West Peachtree, Northwest Atlanta. Police officers say found a 28-year-old woman shot and killed inside her condo on the 28th floor. On the 29th floor, officers took the woman's boyfriend into custody nearby. Police say investigators initially labeled him as a person of interest in the case. Investigators say a fight between the couple escalated into gunfire. After the police interview, Hairston was arrested and booked into Fulton County Jail. The name of the woman had not been released. This was in June of 2023. Anyway, they had the trial today. Well, they started the trial yesterday. The jury selection, and today they come into court, and he decided to go ahead and plead guilty. Oh, you watched it? Wasn't that interesting? Yeah. It was good, right? If you guys didn't see it, we could check that out. I watched the whole thing. I don't know. Corey Richins, I'm going to be honest. It's going to be interesting to see if her lawyers, I feel like yesterday, okay, this is my impression of Corey Richins' trial right now, right? Her lawyer yesterday during the opening, I was like, is she doing this on purpose? That was my first thought, was that she was purposefully being quirky and odd and messing up, kind of like, do you guys remember that old detective show Columbo, where Columbo used to play kind of dingy and stupid, but he knew what was going on, but he used to play kind of dingy and forgetful to kind of trip up the criminals. I feel like when she went at Corey Richins' sister-in-law, the sister who ended up as the trustee, I felt, I'm watching that right now on my other device. Okay. You know what I'm saying? Like, we got to watch it. It's like we got to watch everything. Multiple tabs open, multiple devices. I wasn't sure what was really going on. I feel like her lawyers come off a certain way, but they really are a little more prepared, because when I was watching it on Law and Crime, and people in the comments were really like, she's not prepared, but I don't know. Her Corey's trial is supposed to, girls. I was like, baby, I can't. I'll be in the bushes watching. Will be watching. We can talk about it, but I am not, and replay some testimony here and there. But baby, 6 weeks? That's a lot. They said 5 to 6 weeks, a long time. Let me see if Detroit is showing, if they went to court. Law and Crime, no drugs found. Yeah, I don't know. I think you still watch Columbo, right? Okay. I think that it looks like an opportunity. It looks like a very opportunistic type crime. It looks like a situation where, yeah, she could have tried to kill her husband. And she very well may have, you know. I've been paying attention, but I haven't been deep diving into it like I normally would most stories. Um it'll be interesting to see the evidence that they produce that's like, aha, you know what I mean? Um that's what I'm waiting to see. I haven't been deep diving into everything, so I'm kind of like just a viewer on this like anybody else. You know what I mean? I haven't put in any extra homework into her filings or criminal complaint or anything. I so I'll take that back. I have watched, let me take that back. I think I've watched a couple of hearings when they added on and they gave her like a bunch more charges. I did watch that. I've watched a couple of hearings, but I've done YouTube level passive watching, okay? But I haven't been deep diving, if that makes sense. Watching Riggins on Riggins. Who's Riggins? Are you talking about what's his name? From Fulton County? What's he doing? Riggins. Is that the guy from Detroit? Is that you talking about Jarvis Butts, public defender, or who? I'm watching Riggins on my other device. Tell me who that is. Portia Hush. Oh, you're watching Richins. Okay. Riggins, Ken Riggins is Jarvis Butts, you know, his public defenders, the black guy who's his public defender, Ken Riggins. So when you said Riggins, I was like, who's he? Girl, you watching Court in Detroit to all of our Detroit friends? Her lawyers, you think her lawyers aren't good? I don't know. I feel like when the way they came at at the sister-in-laws, did you all see that yesterday? I felt like they made the sister-in-laws look like she had something to gain from her brother dying. Now, was that a fair thing to do? Was that kind of dirty? Was that something dirty? Absolutely. But, you know, Portia is co-hosting. Yeah. She's hating because the male lady is driving down the street. Oh, okay. Portia Hush. Let me let them out. Let's see. We need to let them out real quick. Yeah, let me let them out while we're waiting for the judge to come back. Okay. Real quick, did you guys see Savannah Guthrie? When I come back, we'll play the Savannah Guthrie video real quick. Savannah put out a new message. Savannah looks like she hasn't had sleep in 3 weeks, and I don't blame her because I wouldn't have had sleep either. So I don't blame her, but it is clearly taking a toll. I know there are some people who are like, you know, what's really going on here? Da da da. Whatever's going on is not sleep. Clearly this is taking, I'm kind of worried. I feel like they need to get over there with some good IVs, at least for Savannah. I don't know if her sister and her brother, they probably all need some IV therapy right now, some good nutrients and some very nutrient dense food, because they are going through it over there and I feel so bad for those people. anybody who has had elderly parents walk off, who've gone missing, victims of murder and all of these things, or abductions. I mean, this is just a complete nightmare. Yeah, this is bad. Hi, Miss HLS. Hey, Boo Boo. I wish I knew. I wish I knew where Nancy was too. Do you imagine? I mean, I mean, and in all fairness, because I know a lot of people feel away because these are rich people, highly visible, and they're getting all of the attention for the investigation. But at the end of the day, any of the people out here, there's a lot of people out here suffering with people who have gone off missing, children, seniors, all kinds of stuff. I cannot. This is just this family. We're getting to kind of see the visual and the vigil that takes place with law enforcement, the media, for highly visible cases. But just seeing Savannah and just the decline of just exhaustion, probably lack of food, lack of nutrients, just worry and despair. You can see on their faces. This is just the worst, the absolute worst. Okay. Because for what she's going through, there's hundreds of other families going through the exact same thing right now with her. Um, who are all dealing with this type of same situation. Maybe not obviously a high profile abduction per se or home entry in this way, but people missing, it's terrible. It's terrible. And that's when I saw the video today, that's all I could really think about was like, my gosh, like this family needs a hug. They really do. They need a hug. They need a lot of support. Like, this is just terrible. All right, guys, give me just a second. Let me let these dogs out. Portia went outside, came right back. I mean, literally came outside. Lambo went running after a bird. She ran out, faked him out, turned around, and ran right back in the house. Lambo's still outside. Let's see. Let's see. Okay, let's see what else is going on here. I thought Afeni Muhammad had court today. Shh. Portia is so bothered, y'all. All right, let's see what's going on here. All right. I don't want to get started playing something and then the judge comes back. Anybody who was watching McBurney's court today in Fulton County, were you familiar with the case or were you like me looking it up? I had to find the case. Is this? Oh, you know what? Let's talk about this really fast. So, the guy, did you guys all see the viral video of the man getting into a fight with the guy at the Mecklenburg County Courthouse? I was just like, "Oh my god, I'm so glad I was not there because I would have been running to the elevator." It like I told you guys, maybe I probably said it in members, but last time I was at the courthouse, I didn't do like a full live on this because girl, this man's family looked a little bit off the chain. So Miss Sharon, the man whose name was Miss Sharon, I don't know if look, they've got him in the men's dormitories, so I'm not trying to misgender, but the man wears a full wet and wavy wig, but the kids on the bus were calling him Miss Sharon, but his name is Lee Twan Tate, and he is over in the men's side of the Mecklenburg County Courthouse. That was up on the 5th floor. That's where the criminal court hearings are held. And I sat next to his family the whole day. I didn't realize that was his family. It took forever for his docket to be called. Anyway, long story short, girl, as soon as they finished and they said no reduction in bond and he's still not going to be bonded out because the man was out of order taking sexual liberties with children and they said no bond. Girl, I got out of there so quick because, I've done like 2 stories on him and I didn't know, what I'm saying? The family seemed a little, what I'm saying? So girl, I went ahead and made out of there, okay? But the man who got into the fight with someone who is standing trial, this guy actually has killed this man's son. So there's like a viral video. The guy ended up getting into a fight with someone outside of the courtroom and it's gone viral. I don't know if you guys see it. Wasn't familiar with the Hairston case until last week. He was in McBurney's on Friday. Okay, so yeah, I didn't see it. I saw yesterday that they were getting ready to start picking the jury and then I didn't think anything of it until I saw it again this morning and then I was like, "Wait a second, is he getting ready to enter a plea?" And then I was like, "Oh," and then I started looking it up and everything. So, okay. Let's see. Now Lambo's barking outside. Okay, are they going to show the whole thing? Let me see. Okay, they're still on the screen. Okay, hold on. Look at him stomping. Like look at the stomping, okay? Can y'all hear? So it's the guy in the blue jacket is the one who is accused of killing the man with the locks son. Are you following me? Okay, let's go right here. If you saw this on like Instagram, they were like, shouts out to the person who polished the floors. Those floors do sparkle. You get off the elevator, you're almost blinded by how clean that building is. Oh, no sound. Hold on. Hold on a second. It said something about I was asking if you guys could hear. Hold on. Let's see. Just 1 second. Let's see. All right, what about now? Can you give me some ones if you can hear or no? Ones for yes, two for no. Can you guys hear me? Can you guys Okay, hold on. Let's see. Okay.
City News reporter David Schumann shows us how the emotions of the victim's father allegedly motivated exactly what happened today.
Can you guys hear me?
The family of Jamarie Dixon asks, what would you do if you came face to face with the man accused of murdering your son? They say this is what his father, Shaheem Snipe, did.
So the emotions got the best of him, and he did what he had to do as a father. Any father would have did the same thing.
Jamarie Dixon was 16 last spring when police say Marion McKnight shot and killed him. McKnight is charged with first-degree murder, as well as the attempted murder of 2 others who were shot.
We're still grieving. Like, this is a wound that would never, ever close because my nephew was 16 years old, and he should still be here with us.
McKnight was released on $100,000 bond, something the family says never should have happened. That release led to an encounter at the Mecklenburg County Courthouse before a hearing Thursday. Jamarie's mother, Lynette Dixon, missed the fight but saw the video.
My face smiled. I smiled. That was the first time that I've had a real smile since my son's been gone.
McKnight went to the hospital after the attack. Jamarie's father was charged with misdemeanor assault. Lynette says she's proud of him, although she still misses everything about her son, who was a football player and honor student.
Every year I got a happy birthday text, happy Mother's Day, happy Valentine's Day. I never get none of that no more. So it's breathtaking.
In Charlotte, David Schumann, Queen City News.
Queen City News Plus.
All right, let's see if the judge is back. It's like, come on, judge. I don't know. I think she's trying to me, I think, ma'am, you're fine if you do what you got to do. Do what you got to do, ma'am. Let's see. So that viral fight. Okay. On Thursday, February 19th, I was on duty at the Mecklenburg County Courthouse on East 4th Street in Charlotte and working my assigned courtroom 5150. I was in the conference room that was located between, let me make sure you guys can hear me. Okay. Let's see. I was in the conference room. It was located in between the entry of 5150 and the door leading to the 5th floor hallway. At approximately 9:15 hours, I heard yelling that appeared to come from the 5th floor hallway. Upon hearing the commotion, I ran out of the conference room. As I was leaving the conference room, my body brushed the door frame, knocking my body-worn camera to the ground. Upon entering the hallway, I observed people in the hallway looking to the left of me. When I turned my head, I saw a black male wearing a black shirt and black pants, later identified as Shaheem Divine Snipes. Mr. Snipes was on top of a man actively striking him. Hold on. Actively striking him. An individual being assaulted was wearing tan jeans, a white shirt, later identified as Marion McKnight. There were many people in the hallway watching the fight and telling Mr. Snipes to stop hitting Mr. McKnight. I didn't hear them saying to stop hitting Mr. McKnight. I feel like on the video, I heard them saying, like basically handle that business. I didn't hear them say to stop. There were many people in the hallway watching the fight and telling Mr. Snipes to stop hitting Mr. McKnight. As I ran towards Mr. Snipes and Mr. McKnight, I used my radio to notify the courthouse that there was a fight in progress at courtroom 5170. Upon approaching Snipes and McKnight, a white male later identified as Michael Kabakoff, a lawyer for McKnight, dove on top of Snipes in an attempt to break up the fight. I observed blood on the floor around Mr. McKnight and Mr. Snipes, as well as on the face of Mr. McKnight. I maneuvered around Mr. Kabakoff, pulling out the taser to assist in incapacitating Mr. Snipes, who was continuously punching Mr. McKnight in the head and upper body. Deputies Maccabee, Delgado, and Smith approached Mr. Snipes during the deployment of my taser, responding to deputies assisted in subduing Mr. Snipes and placed him in handcuffs. Mr. Snipes was escorted to a holding cell located in courtroom 5150, where he was taken into custody. No further incident occurred. End of report. These people need to understand now, people do not mind. Like, you're going, like, there is family now that does not mind taking an L to come and get your ass. Oh, you think Lituan has a weave? Has it sewed in? Yeah, because Afeni Muhammad finally took her wig out. All right. The judge is recessing. She cannot possibly take this long. She's the senior judge too. Did she have another matter to handle? Why is it taking a full, let's see, y'all, it's like a full damn hour. How long have we been live? Almost over 2 hours. And she has been gone now. Hold on. It's like, come on, Judge. She's reading the books. She's using the journal. She's trying out the journal to see if it's effective. Okay. Oh my God. Y'all. Okay, hold on.
An anger management specialist convicted of murdering a Memphis minister.
I love
LATOSHIA Daniels is being sentenced.
Can y'all hear?
defendant is an especially mitigated offender if one, the defendant has no prior felony convictions, what the defendant does not, and the court finds mitigating but no enhancement factors. In this case, the court does find an enhancement factor for the possession of a weapon. So the court finds that the defendant is not an especially mitigated offender. Therefore, the range of punishment on a second-degree murder would be 15 to 25 years, the standard range one offender, and reckless endangerment, a misdemeanor, that would carry 11 months and 29 days in jail. And so one of the things the court has considered is the evidence presented at the trial, the time had come to an end. And so after the defendant received that information, she went to a gun store. She purchased a gun in Sherwood, Arkansas. From the proof at trial, she's on camera, purchased the gun, giving the sales rep her ID, signing any paperwork. That she needs, and then the defendant, when she was in Sherwood, Arkansas, drove to Memphis, which is over 2 hours from Sherwood, Arkansas, is 2 hours from Memphis. And so the court finds that, you know, the defendant's actions were deliberate, and although she wasn't found guilty of first-degree murder, her actions that she showed, and there was proof from Dr. Bidding that she had major depressive disorder, and also that she had some suicidal ideations. And that was the defense version of what happened. And obviously the jury rejected that. But also, Dr. Bidding said that her conduct was could be, even if you have depression, you can still be sequential, intentional, and deliberate in your actions. And it appeared that way to the court because the defendant drove over 2 hours, went to the victim's home, sat and talked with the victim, shot Mr. Perry several times, emptying the clip. And when the police arrived, she was attempting suicide. But during the entire course of that, the defendant possessed a weapon. Nothing, like Dr. Bennett said, she could still commit these actions even if she had a major depressive disorder. So the court finds that the nature and circumstance of the offense are serious. The victim was unarmed, and it really just comes down to the fact that the defendant said that the victim would not walk her to her car. And that's senseless, senseless to kill someone because he would not walk her to her car. And although the victim was a pastor who did not treat her right and he broke her heart, a broken heart does not justify someone dying. It just does not justify someone dying. It was just senseless. Typically when this happens, the relationship is over. Both parties go their separate ways. But in this case, the defendant killed the victim because her heart was broken. And so the court finds that the nature and circumstances of this offense warrant a lengthy sentence. Again, the statistical information shows that 19 years is a typical sentence for a standard range 1 offender, in the court would give that some consideration. And looking at the nature and circumstance of the offense, the court is going to give that great weight for a lengthy sentence. Also, the court has to consider enhancement factors. And the first factor that the state raises is that the offense involved one or more victims. And the court finds that that factor does not apply. The fact that another person or persons are present when a crime is committed standing alone is not sufficient to trigger this factor. In this case, the 2 victims who were present in the home were Ms. Perry and Mr. Perry. And the defendant was convicted separately for her conduct for each one of those victims. And so the court finds that that factor is not appropriate in this case. The other factor that the state relies on is the personal injuries inflicted upon or the damage to the property sustained by or taken by the victims was particularly great. The court finds that it's not applicable to second-degree murder because it's inherent in the offense. It's an element of the offense. The injury was death, and so the court finds that that factor is not applicable. And then also the court finds it's not applicable to reckless endangerment because it has to be something that is over and beyond. Although the Ms. Perry said that she had pain in her shoulder, the court doesn't find that that is over and beyond what someone would be expected. The type of harm or injury that is greater than what is expected if someone was shot. So the court finds that that factor is not applicable to this case. Next, the state asks for the enhancement factors. The defendant possessed or employed a firearm, explosive device, or other deadly weapon during the commission of the offense. And the court finds that this factor does apply, and the defense concedes that it does apply. But the defense asks that the court not give great weight to this factor. But second-degree murder can be accomplished without a weapon. And so the court is going to give that some weight. And the court finds this factor applies because the defendant was seen on camera purchasing a gun. The defendant drove to Memphis from Sherwood, Arkansas with the gun, went to the victim's house with the gun, shot Mr. Perry, killed him, emptied the clip, and shot Miss Perry. And when police arrived, she had the gun in her hand. So the court gives this factor great weight against the defendant. She possessed the handgun throughout the entirety of carrying out this offense. So the court finds that that factor applies. So the court's giving that great weight. Next, the defense filed for several mitigating factors. So the first factor that the mitigating factor that the defense raised is that the defendant acted under strong provocation. And I think the defense says that they were in this 2-year-long relationship, and she had had a suicide attempt, and her word response to chaos and devastation with a disappearing text. And it was when he sent that text, she went into an emotional whiplash when he refused to walk her into her car. And at that time she said, "You broke my heart." The court finds that that's not strong provocation because, again, yes, he did not treat her the way that she wanted to be treated. But also, Miss Daniels was in this relationship with the pastor at the time. And although he didn't treat her, again, the way that she wanted to be treated, none of that was justified for Mr. Perry to be killed. And the thing that made her snap was that he refused to walk her to her car, which is very troubling. And so even though they had been in a 2-year relationship and he had not treated her as she should be treated, the court finds that that's not strong provocation. That's just, I don't find that that's strong provocation. So the court is going to find that mitigating factor does not apply. Substantial grounds exist tending to excuse or justify the defendant's criminal conduct, though failing to establish a defense. And So the issue is the court doesn't find that substantial grounds exist tending to excuse or justify the defendant's criminal conduct, and the defendant testified that, and Dr. Beaton testified that she was suffering from a mental crisis at the time, or well, I think the defendant said, she was suffering from a mental crisis, and the defendant claims that she was not in her right mind, and that the defendant also claims that this should apply because she was in an affair with the defendant for 2 years, and he was manipulative, and so the court finds that the reason the court doesn't find that substantial grounds exist that would excuse the defendant's criminal conduct, because the court finds that the defendant was upset because he told her that the relationship was over and it didn't go the way that she wanted to, so she killed him. And so, again, Dr. Beaton said just because someone is suicidal does not mean that they cannot take deliberate actions. And the court finds that the actions that Ms. Daniels took on that day were deliberate, thoughtful, and intentional. And so she went and purchased a gun, gave her the ID, took the exits to Memphis, drove to the victim's home. And although he preyed on her insecurities, Ms. Daniels also was an active participant in the relationship. She knew he was married. She went and had lunch with his wife. But, although he preyed on her insecurities, she was also an active participant in this relationship. So the court doesn't find that there's an excuse or justification for the defendant's criminal. A substantial ground exists to justify the criminal conduct in this case. Also, the next factor the defense raised, the defendant was suffering from mental or physical condition that significantly reduced the defendant's culpability for the offense. However, the voluntary use of intoxicant does not fall within this purview of this factor. And the law says that there has to be a causal connection between the offense and the condition. And Dr. Beatty's testimony was she couldn't say what her mens rea was at the time because the defendant didn't remember. And she said depression doesn't cause you not to make deliberate decisions. You can still be, she said that Ms. Daniels actually said to be sequential and goal-oriented. And actions suggest that she was able to plan and make judgments, and that it was not a psychotic break where she was disorganized. She said, although she did say that her actions were contrary to her normal actions, but she could not say that a depressed person could not commit the actions of the defendant, or that the depression would have specifically caused it. And so the court finds that based off that, the court's not going to find that the defendant was suffering from a mental or physical condition that significantly reduced the defendant's culpability for the offense. The next factor, the defense asks the court to consider the defendant, although guilty of the crime, committed the offense under such unusual circumstances that a sustained intent to violate the law motivate the criminal conduct. It is unlikely that a sustained intent to violate the law motivated the criminal conduct. And the court finds that this does apply because according to the letters that were written by, I think, over 20-something character letters, most people said that this was outside the norm for Miss Daniels. And I don't think that she would probably do this again. I think that this is aberrant behavior. This is something where she was upset that the relationship was over and just kind of lost control of her actions. So the court does find that that factor is applicable. Yes, and so I think there was a case where a defendant had never been arrested. She has no criminal history, and he was essentially a law-abiding citizen, and so the court does find that that factor applies. The commission of offense is unlikely that there was a substantial intent to violate the law was a motivation. The court just finds that her heart was broken and she just lost control of herself. So the court does find that that factor, the court's going to give that some weight for mitigation. Remorse, the court does find that the defendant is remorseful. Her testimony today, she was very tearful. She apologized to the victim's family for her actions, and the court credits that, and the court will give that a little weight. No criminal history. The court's not going to find that for mitigation, but the court is going to give that some weight when we look at the lack or potential of rehabilitation. The court's going to give that some weight in her favor. She also wrote 8 books, so the court does find there is a potential for rehabilitation, and that she completed all those courses since she's been incarcerated. The court's going to give that some weight in her favor. When we look at the evidence at the sentencing hearing, we heard from 2 family members, the son and sister cousin of the defendant, who talked about how the character of the defendant, and the court is going to give that some weight in Ms. Daniels' favor. And again, the court does find that Ms. Daniels is remorseful. Validated risk and needs for sentencing, the court, I think the report says that it's low, and the court is taking that into consideration, but she does have moderate for mental health and attitudes and behavior, which has been the case throughout. And also, I think one of the things was the employment history. And the court's going to give that some weight in her favor as well. When I look at the lack or potential of rehabilitation, the court's not going to find it as a mitigating factor because the case law says that the fact that a person has a fairly stable employment history does not entitle the person to a reduction in sentence, because every citizen in this state is expected to have a stable work history if the economy permits the citizen to work, and the citizen is not disabled or the citizen is not independently wealthy. So the court is going to take that into consideration when we look at her potential or lack of rehabilitation. And the court's going to do the same for work history. So the court has to also look at the pre-sentence report. And again, she has no criminal history, which is
I don't know. I have never seen a sentencing where they are literally having a work session. Ma'am has stacks of papers on her desk. And I mean, this lady is, I think she's like the senior judge because I looked her up. I could be mistaken, but she's very seasoned. She's got lots of experience. This woman has been given a stack stack of files. Like, who even has this much paperwork? Isn't everything scanned into the computer these days? This is absolutely ridiculous, Shelby County. That being said, I've never seen anything like this, and if you can figure it out, let me know. I did not see Tabitha, and I have not seen the two sisters talk yet. So let's just, like they say, let's trust the process. Okay. Let's trust the process, bougie gang. Okay. Hit the thumbs up. We're in this. We are vested at this moment. Let's trust the process, everybody. Facebook, let's trust the process, everyone. This is probably over sooner than later. Okay. She's gonna get her time. Okay. She's gonna get her time. Let's trust the process.
Good. She graduated from high school, went to college, received her doctorate, has community service, and though she had these.
Don't let me find out you're a Sigma Gamma Rho, ma'am. Let me, did she get a Panhellenic credit? Did she get an Eastern Star credit? I mean, I'm just trying to figure out what's going on here. Like, let me stop.
Pending charges, she still was able to obtain employment and then continue on with her community service projects and her nonprofit. So, of course, going to give that some weight. She also has substantial family support, all things that are beneficial to the defendant in looking at her potential or lack of potential of rehabilitation. And also, of course, considering the statements of the defendant and the proof at the sentencing hearing. So in considering all those things and weighing all those factors, on the reckless endangerment, the court is going to sentence the defendant to 11 months and 29 days in jail. On the second degree murder, the court's going to sentence the defendant to 20 years. So that's going to be the
Oh my God.
20 years at 100%, I believe. So that's going to be the order of the court.
Your Honor, may I ask for some clarifications?
Yes.
Just for appellate purposes. As to the mitigating factor regarding a positive work history, for employment, you said that you were looking at that regarding rehabilitation, but not as a mitigator. For work history, you said you were looking at that regarding potential for rehabilitation. Did you also find that as a mitigator?
I didn't find it as a mitigator, but I gave it weight in her favor for
And the community service, is that also considered as potential for rehabilitation, not as a mitigator?
yes,
The educational background?
yes. I'll give that weight for potential or lack of rehabilitation.
Okay, but not as a mitigator.
Yeah.
And her book, the writing of the books, you leaned towards potential for rehabilitation, not as a mitigator? And the strong R, the low risk for recidivism,
Yeah. I gave it some weight in her favor.
as towards potential for rehabilitation or as a mitigator?
Potential for rehabilitation.
Man, would you stop asking so many questions?
Thank you, Your Honor.
Anything else on the parties?
Okay, let's just try to dial that back because I was just like, she just pulled that out of thin air. So she gave her 11 months and something for the reckless endangerment, I think. And then she gave her 20 years for the second degree. When she said 11 months, I almost had an outer body experience. Like, I was just like, wait a second. They all try to appeal, or what is there to appeal? Nothing. She just, her lawyers, That's what they do. Okay, let's listen to it one more time.
On the second degree murder, the court's gonna sentence the defendant to 20 years. Sentence the defendant to 11 months and 29 days. And the court, all those factors, all those things in weighing all those factors. On the reckless endangerment, the court is gonna sentence the defendant to 11 months and 29 days in jail. On the second degree murder, the court's gonna sentence the defendant to 20 years. So that's gonna be the 20 years at 100%, I believe. So that's gonna be the order of the court.
She said 20 years at 100%. So does that mean they didn't give her any credit for time served? So she didn't say that. She said at 100%.
Your Honor, may I ask for some?
Hold on.
20 years at 100%, I believe.
At 100%.
that's gonna
So
be-
I think that means she didn't give her any credit. They didn't say anything about all the years that she has spent in jail already. I don't think they're giving her that.
Order of the court.
Your Honor, may I ask for some clarification?
Yes.
For appellate purposes. As to the mitigating factor regarding a positive work history, for employment, you said that you were looking at that regarding rehabilitation, but not as a mitigator. For work history, you said you were looking at that regarding potential for rehabilitation. Did you also find that as a mitigator?
I didn't find it as a mitigator, but I gave it weight in her favor for
And the community service, is that also considered as potential for rehabilitation, not as a mitigator?
yes,
The educational background?
yes. I'll give that weight for potential.
I mean, she's 46. If she has to do 20 years, I mean, she's going to be damn near 70 years old when she gets out. You know, she'll be 60. She'll be in her
And
late
her
60s.
book,
I don't know if
the
she gets
writing of the
extra
book
credit.
is aimed towards potential for rehabilitation, not as a mitigator. And the strong R, the low risk for recidivism
I gave it some weight in her favor.
as towards potential for rehabilitation or as a mitigator.
Potential for rehabilitation.
Thank you, Your Honor.
I don't think they gave her any credit, her jail time credit.
Anything else on the parties?
I mean, 21 years, I don't know. I think this is the thing for me. I think Brodus, the reason why she didn't get a life sentence is because these people felt sorry for her. She did a good job of crying and snotting and and the people feeling sorry for her because she was an educated woman. I think the jury felt sorry for her. And I think it was a little bit of an indictment against Brodus Perry, who probably wasn't a good guy. And unfortunately, Tabitha, you know, I don't know why they didn't hold the weight for Tabitha, that this woman damn near tried to kill her at her own house. You killed my husband. You tried to kill me. I don't feel like for some reason, the jury was feeling sorry for her because I think that, I don't know. And really, the victim who's sitting there, Tabitha, really should have gotten a little bit more justice for her and her dead husband. Even though he wasn't a good guy, it should have been a little bit more because, you know, in Florida, baby, they would have gave her, she'd have been gone for good. Florida, it'd have been over.
Tennessee here.
Your Honor, I have an order prepared, if I may pass it forward, just making very clear that this offense predated the truth in sentencing. She is eligible for the 15% gift credit. I think it's helpful for TDOC to have that outlined in a separate order.
Judge Daniels also indicted in 1904436 as 3 misdemeanors: escape from misdemeanor incarceration, assault, and resisting official attention. It's related to incidents that took place immediately after this was done, based on the results of this case, and that the state is going to ask the court to show there's no prosecution cost. I will pass forward judgments on those. I will also be, if the court recalls, this case was superseded by indictment, so 19-04676 is still open. I will be passing forward orders and all prosecuting all 3 counts in that. And then we have prepared judgments for the court to look at, to make sure that they comply with what the court had just ordered on those. I think I'm ready to pass all 3 sets of those up currently.
And Your Honor, just for the clarity of the record, those 2 counts are to run concurrently?
Yes, concurrently, yes. And I also want to put on the record, I think one of the things that the state raised was the fact that I could, that there were enough actions for first degree murder based off her conduct. And so the court is given there's some consideration as to why the court did not do 25, because the court can look behind what she was convicted of, and the court can consider the actions of the defendant. And again, the court does find that there was sufficient proof for the defendant to be found guilty. Her actions were premeditated, I guess that's what I'm saying. So with that being said, the court didn't do 25, and I think that the state asked for a higher end sentence. The court sentenced her at 20 years. So again, the nature and circumstances of the offense warranted a lengthy sentence in this case. So.
Your Honor, may we be excused from that?
Yes.
Thank you.
The sentencing of LATOSHIA Daniels. She was convicted of second-degree murder and reckless endangerment in the death of Pastor BRODUS Perry and the injury of his wife, Tabitha. Now, the sentencing has come down as follows: 20 years for the second-degree murder charge. She will also receive 11 months and 29 days for the reckless endangerment charge. Those will run concurrently, so her total sentence will be the 20 years in prison at this point. Let's recap a little bit of what we heard from the judge. It was a long sentencing hearing as the judge went through all of the potential mitigating circumstances, saying that several of those did not seem to meet the legal standard, including the mental crisis, the potential for intoxicants, as well as some of the others. The judge did say that the factor of the emotional distress did play in, and so they did give the defense some credit for that. But for the most part, most of the mitigating factors and arguments that the defense had brought up prior to the sentencing were not considered during the course of that actual sentencing. Now, the other thing that was considered was her employment record, her education history, and just the conversations and the witness testimony that happened today from her son and another family member. All right, so to recap, the judge has sentenced LATOSHIA Daniels to 20 years for second-degree murder and the death of BRODUS Perry, and 11 months and 29 days for reckless endangerment for shooting Perry's wife, Tabitha. Perry was the pastor of Assimilation at Mississippi Boulevard Christian Church in downtown Memphis. Now, it has been a long road. We do have a crew there in the courthouse. We do hope to hear from the prosecution and the defense at some point in time in the next couple of minutes. So if that happens, we will break away from our current coverage and go right there to hear from them live. But as we wait for them to be ready to speak. Let's discuss a little bit about how we got here. It's a long road here to this sentencing. In the case, it played out a lot like a Hollywood thriller. A minister, a love triangle, and then a deadly ending in a quiet Collierville apartment community. The real-life drama had people across the Mid-South completely shocked. And during the trial, LaTosHia Daniels walked the court through the romantic relationship that she says eventually left her brokenhearted.
There was like 5 or 6 gunshots in the first kind of blast, and then there was a little bit of a delay, a woman screaming, and then I heard some more, like probably 5 more.
Gunfire erupted in a normally quiet apartment community in Collierville. On April 4th, 2019, Collierville police were called to the scene of a double shooting at Meridian Parks Apartments on Elkstone Place South.
I saw him bring the gentleman down on a stretcher, and then I saw the woman come down, and she obviously been shot in the shoulder.
The victims, BRODUS PERRY, a new minister from Mississippi Boulevard Christian Church in downtown Memphis, along with his wife, Tabitha. The wife survived. BRODUS PERRY did not. Police took certified anger management specialist LaTosHia Daniels into custody after shooting her at the scene. Now, from the pulpit, the church senior Reverend Dr. J. Lawrence Turner broke the news to the congregation.
Not only have we experienced the death of BRODUS PERRY to violence, but the rumors swelling around his murder leave us shocked and shaken. To those of you who are wondering, how could this happen? How could this happen within our safe and loving church community? To those of you in particular who came to know him as I did during the 5 months he was at Mississippi Boulevard, I want to say, I'm heavy-hearted because of your pain.
On the surface, the connection between a minister, his wife, and a licensed social worker was not clear. You see, people questioned, why would someone shoot a pastor, especially a woman who has written books about managing vulnerable emotions?
Yeah.
But as the case played out in court in November of 2025,
Oh my God.
Daniels would reveal her side of a love triangle. One she said started more than 150 miles away in Little Rock, Arkansas. It was a marital counseling session that Daniels claims sparked a sexual relationship. Daniels says it continued even after Perry moved to the Memphis area. But when Perry broke it off, Daniels testified that she took the 2.5-hour drive to see Perry face to face. But Daniels did not go empty-handed.
And I dumped some bullets out on the bed and just grabbed a handful of them and took the gun and left the house.
All right, now Daniels testified that on April 4th, 2019, she had planned to kill herself. That's because she said Perry suddenly dumped her using disappearing text through the app that they used to communicate. Some other portions and mentions during during this trial include that Daniels told the court that she bought the gun, left a suicide note, and then got into her car at that point. Instead of going to the park where she planned to end her life, Daniels said she kept going to Memphis to confront Perry. That's when she says she talked to the minister at a cigar bar where they agreed to come clean to his wife about their affair. Then Daniels says Perry gave her his address and promised to meet her there. Daniels testified that after Perry arrived, the conversation never turned towards their relationship, so she decided to leave.
I asked him, would he walk me out? He said no. And I said, why not, sir? That's Southern hospitality for you to walk a woman outside when it's dark. Because I wanted to just get him to see like what happened. Why didn't you follow through? But he refused to walk me out. So Tabitha opened the door and was walking out. I was still trying to get him to walk me out. And as I reached into my pockets to get my keys, I remember being outside the door. And then the next thing I was standing in their kitchen.
Do you deny that you shot BRODUS PERRY?
I do not.
Do you deny that you shot Tabitha?
I don't, but I know it wasn't intentional.
She said she went to get her keys, and next thing she knew, so you went to Come on now. That's why you got 20 years. I mean, I don't know. I'm not happy with the 20 years, but I'm not Brodus Perry's sister. I'm not the mom. I'm glad that they didn't just, because when I heard that 11 months and 29 days, I was just like, what? But how do you get that for shooting somebody? You came to my house and shot me and killed my husband, and you're getting 11 months and 29 days for that? I didn't ask you. And you sat your behind down, drank my alcohol. I sat up here and talked to you for a minute till my husband came home that you were helping yourself to his body behind my back. And you were trying to be my friend. That's ridiculous. She deserved more than that. I just think the deception alone, the cold calculation of befriending this woman only to help herself to this lady's husband, and you come to my house unannounced and then shoot me and kill my husband. I feel like that deserves more than 11 months and 29 days. The 20 years, I mean, I feel like they took time. I feel like with the jury giving her second degree, I feel like they felt sorry for her because she's slow. And I think that they felt like Brodus Perry probably took advantage of her. So they gave her some credit for being, for being a adult, slow woman who fell for the okey doke and didn't understand that the relationship was over. Are they going to get to the lawyers in the hallway? I don't know. Interesting. Okay.
Right, there's one other person who was also there when the deadly confrontation played out, Brodus Perry's wife, Tabitha, who she just mentioned. Now, she told the court about that night on April 4th when Daniels, a woman she knew from their church in Little Rock, showed up to their Collierville apartment. And she says she never knew about the relationship between Daniels and her husband. The former Mrs. Perry testified that after her husband came home and a little small talk, things quickly escalated.
LaTosha was facing Brodus.
Yeah, I would say yeah.
And you saw her reach into her pocket, right?
Yes.
And this was as y'all were walking up to her car.
This is still upstairs.
Right,
Yeah.
but that was the direction that.
Correct.
Okay. And when you saw her reach into her pocket, you saw her pull out a gun.
Yes.
Now, prior to that moment, had you ever seen a gun?
No.
Prior to that moment, had she seemed to be a threat to you?
No.
Prior to that moment, did you think you were in harm's way being with her?
No.
She started firing here.
Yes.
Towards Brodus.
Correct.
You were in the opposite direction, right?
I was behind them. Yes.
And you ran to your apartment or your neighbor's apartment.
Right.
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 So you weren't even in the apartment when the shots started.
No, I was still outside the apartment.
When y'all were in the apartment, the three of you, was the door closed?
After the shots were fired?
Before.
Oh, before. Yeah, the door was closed before.
Could anyone see into your apartment?
No.
With the door closed?
No.
It was private?
Right.
No one else other than the three of you was in the apartment?
Correct.
After the door gets open, you go outside, you're visible to everyone else in the apartment complex. Well, that could see where y'all were, right? You became visible outside of your apartment.
Not really, no.
So if your neighbor had opened the door.
If my neighbor across the hall had opened the door, sure.
They could see LaTosha standing.
Mm-hmm.
They could see Brodus standing in the door.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing happened until after that was already out in a more public area than y'all had been before, right?
Right.
You at some point lunged for Brodus, right?
Yes.
And tried to shield him.
Well, this was after the shooting had occurred. Yeah. Once we were back in the apartment by then.
Prior to that point, prior to you trying to shield him, She had not fired any shots at you, right?
No.
And when you got shot, did you realize it?
Yes.
Did you grab your shoulder?
Yeah, the bullet, the bullet moved me. The shot threw me. Yeah.
And you were right against Brodus at that point too, right?
Until I got shot, right.
And then you said, Tasha, you shot me.
Mm-hmm.
What did she say back to you?
Something to the effect of, I didn't mean to.
Girl,
We are
bye. Are
continuing
you
to keep
kidding me?
an eye on this live picture right there next to me. This is
If that had been Georgia or Florida, they would have gave her attempted murder. They would have gave her something a little bit more robust than reckless endangerment. Are you kidding me? I didn't mean to. This lady is a mess, and the people of Tennessee can fuck around and find out. This lady will be back. I promise you. If they let her out in the next 10 or 15 years, she'll be, 10, 15 years older. She'll be mid 50s, almost 60 years old. And she might still have a little bit of spiciness to her. And the man that she's married to right now better watch out, because she's something's wrong with her.
directly after the sentencing has now happened. You're taking a look at the criminal court division, obviously court 2 there. We're waiting to hear from the prosecution and or the defense after this sentencing has now been laid down for LaToshiA Daniels. Just to recap kind of where we're at this point with the sentencing. This has been ongoing for several hours this morning. LaToshiA Daniels has been sentenced to 20 years for second-degree murder of BRODUS Perry. She's also been sentenced to 11 months and 29 days for the reckless endangerment of BRODUS Perry's wife, Tabitha. Now, those will run concurrent, so it'll be a 20-year sentence in total. A couple of notes from the judge while the judge was getting ready to read the sentencing. The judge said that the nature of this crime was serious, and the judge did call it senseless, saying that to kill the victim for not walking her to her car was absolutely unexcusable. Also saying that, quote, a broken heart does not justify killing the victim, and that a lengthy sentence would have to be considered for those reasons. The judge also went through several potential mitigating factors that the defense had brought up, several things, including a mental health crisis, potentially for LaToshiA Daniels, the potential of some intoxicants being involved during the course of committing that crime. And the judge dismissed several of those mitigating factors, saying that they would not be considered during the actual sentencing because they did not meet the legal standard to which they need to be measured by. The judge did say that she took into account the fact that LaToshiA Daniels was remorseful, that she has no criminal history, and that she seemed to be somebody that could be rehabilitated after doing
I don't think so. I think she's got a screw loose.
Verdict on that sentencing rather has been handed down today, just minutes ago. 20 years for second-degree murder, including 11 months and 29 days for reckless endangerment.
There's a couple of people, though, in my comments that thought that she was going to get time served. So at least that's not the case. So I don't know. I'm thinking she's not getting credit because it sounds like the judge said she was going to have to do 100%, and they did not credit any of the time that she spent in the county. It didn't sound like they factored that in, but I don't know for sure. We'll see when she makes it to Tennessee Department of Corrections, when they post up her release date, and we'll get the facts then on the Tennessee Department of Corrections. But this is just, I mean, it's better than nothing, and it's better than getting a shocker. But I think she was trying to be slick, talking about she was an Eastern Star and she's a Sigma Gamma Rho. I don't know. You know what I mean? I don't know if she was trying to get some extra credit there. I just feel like even the education credit should not matter. Someone who's not highly educated, who is remorseful, why, you know what I mean? Like, why would she get more credit? Because she's a PhD murderer and not a high school dropout murderer. Like, does that, because she has a PhD, she has a better chance to make it? But you killed somebody. Because you have a PhD, I would expect you to not resort to doing something like that. Like, because you have a PhD, she should be held to a higher standard, not get extra credit.
Of Brodus Perry's wife, Tabitha. All right, let's continue to get you caught up on some of the details during the course of the
Okay,
trial.
there's
In
no
fact, right after
interview
the
yet.
jury
Oh,
read the
here's the
initial
interview. Let's
verdict,
see.
Daniel's attorney's team expressed their disappointment over that initial decision. What they're saying. Let's go.
PIN.
Capital A.
Yes.
Talk about the outcome. Was it what you were expecting with the sentence?
So I didn't really know what to expect with the sentence. That's largely in the judge's hands. Fairly certain it was going to be between 15 and 25, and it hit right in the middle. So I guess it's what we expected.
Will the sentences be served consecutive or concurrent?
They are concurrently.
And anything on parole? I know they didn't speak about that.
Right. So this crime occurred before the current law, the current Truth in Sentencing Act that the legislature passed in 2022. But since 1995, murder 2 has basically been non-parolable. In other words, you serve 85% of it. You're not guaranteed 15%, but you can earn up to 15% of that credit. So you're going to serve 85% of 20, and then the question becomes what happens on the last 15%.
Do you know off the top of your head how much time she served?
I don't.
Have you had any contact with the victims' families?
Yes.
How were they doing? How are they doing?
I mean, they're doing as well as can be expected. Our thoughts are with the family of Brodus Perry and with Tabitha Archie. Yeah, I mean, it's tough. You can't. They appreciate the justice, but you can't make it not have happened. So yes, they're doing as well as can be expected.
Anything we didn't ask?
No, I mean, this was Collierville PD put a lot of work into this. TBI helped us out a lot. We appreciate that. No, I mean, we asked for first degree murder. We thought the proof was there, but we're happy to get some justice for the victims.
His family here.
They were here on Zoom.
All right, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Stand up if you want to.
Okay, so let's just say they said 85%, she can earn 15% credit. So 20 years. I mean, it's not a lot of, so she could get possibly like 3 years off, 3 years extra credit. So 17 years. I mean, she's going to do at least 10, 12, maybe 10 to 12 years if she earns it, I guess.
Lauren Fuchs, Lauren Fuchs.
Arthur Horn, ARTHURHORNE.
20 years compared to the 13 and a half plus the additional time. How are you guys feeling about that? Not exactly what you wanted, but at least it wasn't the top part of that.
The 13.5 would have required the judge to find only mitigators and no enhancers. And an enhancement factor available in Tennessee is that a gun was used. A gun was used here. And so that then, since the judge chose to utilize that enhancement, which I believe is the only enhancement that she found, that put LaTosha into a range 1 sentencing guidelines, which is from 15 to 25 years. So the judge hit right in the middle. While we respect the judge's decision, we do disagree with it. LaTosha is someone who has led an exemplary life outside of this very small portion of time. Academically, and professionally, personally, she has led a good life, and we hoped the judge would place more weight on that when sentencing her to find more towards the 15 years rather than up towards the 20 where the judge did land.
The judge talked a lot about that the pastor did not walk her to the door, that made her snap. Is that what really was at the core of it, or was it more than that?
She was mad because he broke up with her over a disappearing text message. Come on now.
I think it was absolutely more than that. This was not an isolated incident that caused this break. And that's what happened. LaTosha broke in that moment. That was the last thing that happened prior to the shooting. But that was not the defining moment. It was a culmination of events that led to this emotional and mental crisis.
I know last week when we were all here and we spoke with you, you had mentioned moving forward after this and appealing the decision. What does that process look like, and where do you guys go from here?
So the next step is what's called the motion for new trial. During that, we will outline grounds that we believe were errors during the trial or sentencing, and that lays the groundwork for the appeal. So 30 days after the motion for new trial, the notice of appeal will be due, and then that will start the appellate pipeline.
What do you think it says that so many of her family members and friends were present in court today?
I think it shows that she has an amazing support system. And she has that because she is a good person who did a bad thing. But that is not who she is. I think it was her cousin, Miss Brock, who said, this is not what should define her. And it shouldn't. She had, it was just a completely aberrant happening.
It's like, does the man get to talk? I mean, at the end of the day, I think the murder can define you. People call people murderer. That's a title. Now, is the affair going to define her? The affair did define her because based on the affair, she murdered the man. It's ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous. And the fact that I feel like it's really sad because I guess in Memphis, if you are undereducated, you better not do a crime there because they're going to scrutinize you more heavily. If you're a PhD, I guess Memphis is the place to be to kill someone, because if you're highly educated and you are seen to be high potential, you can go in and get out because they seem to think, or at least the defense attorneys there feel like you should get extra credit because you're more high potential. You're a more high potential criminal than someone who is low potential, undereducated, and you deserve more consideration than someone who may have had like a very hard life, who may have, may not have enough money, may not have enough money to have the essentials. Someone who is highly educated should get more credit and less time. So I don't know. I think that's ridiculous.
Should define her is how she has lived her life outside.
I think she's been a mess.
Of the events of April the 4th, 2019.
Did we get to speak to her right after this? How
We
is she
did.
feeling?
She's taking it pretty hard. I think she was very optimistic that we were going to get a lower sentence, and I think we're a little disappointed today. But again, Ms. Fuchs and I did a great job at trial. We were happy to get the verdict that we got, and although we were not necessarily happy with the sentence, it could have been worse. So
How did we talked about last week, the 4 years that she already served play into that? How do those play into that? Or do they?
That time will be taken off of the sentence as credit for time served. And then because of the offense date being in 2019, that predates the truth in sentencing. So on the second degree murder, she will be eligible to receive up to 15% good credit. So if she continues good behavior in the prison system, continues utilizing the programs as she has throughout and not getting write-ups, then she could receive 15% off of her sentence.
Anything we didn't ask?
I would just like to say, I mean, Ms. Fuchs will tell you, we work in these courtrooms every day. We go to sentencings every day. And in my 26 years of practicing law, I've never had a client that has done so much work on herself, work for other people, writing books to help other families that are going through this, and just the level of remorseful remorse.
This is ridiculous. So 20 years minus 15% is 17 years. So she would get 3 years with that 15% credit, right? Then she's done 4 years, allegedly. She's done, let's say, 4 years. So maybe she's going to do 13 years. I think she's 40 something now. She's 46 or 47. I mean, she's still got plenty of time. She's going away for a minute. She's still not getting out until she's about 60 years old. So, I mean, it is what it is. She's going to have to go for at least 13 years. And I guess it's going to have to be good enough. It's better than them giving her a 13-year and her getting 15% off of that, then minus, it might have been like she could have been in there for like 5 years and that would have been bad. So what she got is not amazing, but it is what it is. Let's just hear the last little words and I'm gonna let y'all
just the
go.
work that she's done to better herself, to clearly show that she's never going to commit any other crimes. I mean, and so I think that for us was very difficult to watch, because we have people that get sentenced all the time, and they never do the amount of work and the level of work that Miss Daniels has done.
In the last 3 months, 3.5 months that she's spent in prison, have y'all noticed any changes from then to now in her?
I think she was just optimistic about getting a better sentence, but I think she's going to still continue to do the work that she's been doing. I mean, that's just in her nature and in her heart.
Even since she went into custody after the trial verdict, she immediately enrolled in programs. She immediately started doing the self-reflection and path towards betterment that she had set herself.
She knew what to do, and you probably told her to keep busy so you can have some good things to talk about over the next couple of months.
On immediately after these events, recognizing the importance of addressing her mental health and staying on that path so that she does not ever end up in this type of situation again.
They had the people feeling sorry for her. Because they just did. She's a professional student, and Brodus Perry, who was not a good guy, was seen by the jury as not a good guy and not a victim. And maybe because Tabitha is already remarried, I don't know if they said that or not, but they called her up as Tabitha Archie. Maybe they saw that she already moved on and she's not like the grieving widow. I don't know. I think that they took that into consideration, that Brodus was a bad guy, that Brodus was into polyamory. Brodus was a little bit to the left. And I think that him talking about polyamory, it's almost like the same thing with Sakina Thompson, guys. Like people who are like, oh, well, they should have got Terry to come up there for it would have been good for us because we could have got more details. But because Terry was such a bad guy, Terry Thurmagen, like with Sakina Thompson, Terry's such a bad guy. People might have felt sorry for Sakina because number one, she's stupid. Number two, she made some dumb moves. And number three, her boyfriend was super duper toxic. And it wasn't his fault that she decided to do the things that she did, but they would have felt sorry for her. And I think that the way that they demonstrated Brodus and that damn Marco Polo app, him talking to those women and him talking about polyamory and him using her and her spending her money. There might have been some women in that jury who may have even been through something like that, where a guy has taken advantage of them and financially abused them or allowed themselves to be financially scammed or whatever. I think that they feel sorry for her, because there is no way that that was not premeditated murder. And the fact that they gave her second degree is absolutely ridiculous. And the fact that they sat there and went through her whole entire resume. What was the pre-sentencing investigation for? Like, I get that the judge carefully went through everything, but isn't that what the PSI is for? It's like she did a whole PSI right there at the bench. What did probation say was her score or her likelihood to reoffend? Like, why did she? I guess she had to go through a calculation or whatever, but I don't know. I just think that it's unfortunate for the unfortunate people who don't have the benefit of education and do stupid things, but somebody who is highly educated and educated specifically in an area that should have kept her ass out of trouble, she's getting kudos for, she's getting cool points. Come on. That's stupid. That was stupid. I'm sorry. That was dumb.
So are you guys considering appealing this decision?
Girl. Ma'am, don't you have other cases? Okay, so it's over.
Yes, I believe
Oh.
we will be appealing. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Horn was like, oh shit.
All right.
Okay, let me let them go. Okay. Y'all, this was interesting. We've been waiting for this for a long time. LaTosha Daniels finally got sentenced. Alleged girl, she got 20 years when it's all said and done. 20 years. Y'all, you know, our next sentencing, they got damn Jarvis next coming up in a couple of weeks. And if he don't get them damn 60 years, if he doesn't get 50, but just 60 on the strength of he needs to get 60 years. He needs to get everything for all he did. On the murder alone, that should be a life. But on top of that, with all of the other victims, he needs to get that full 60 and never walk out of there. So we'll see what happens. He's up next in a few weeks. Let's see, how many weeks is that? When's the 12th? Okay, like 2.5 weeks. What's today? Today's Tuesday. 2 weeks from Thursday, I think, is, if I have the date correct, I think it's March 12th. Jarvis Butts is getting sentenced, and he better get a full 60. I'm telling you. Like, what am I going to do from all the way here in North Carolina? But he deserves a full 60 years for the atrocities that he committed against those children. So, okay, guys, I'm going to let you guys go. If you guys want to watch Judge McBurney, we can, but I need to step away for a minute and get my life back for just a moment. And if you want to watch the Judge McBurney one, that was pretty interesting too. So, but that was an interesting plea deal. Anyway, I will see you guys later. Let me know in the comments if you want me to do the case. I think it was Douglas Hairston. Also, quick update regarding Afeni Muhammad. She did have court today, but they rescheduled it for some reason. She was supposed to have court today, but it was adjourned, held off, record adjourned, other reasons, awaiting forensic report. 3:24, 9 a.m. Following event pre-trial scheduled for 2/24/26, adjourned to 3/24/26. Judge Massaroni And they rescheduled it to 9 a.m. on 3/24. So she was going to have court today, but they adjourned it. So Afeni Muhammad, Miss Ma'am, who killed her boss at the East Point McDonald's, she was due in court today, but she did not. It got adjourned. They're waiting for some sort of forensic. So 1, 2, 3, 4 weeks from today, she'll be back in court in Macomb County. All of our friends in Michigan. She'll be in court next month. Okay, guys. All right, you guys take care and make sure to hit the thumbs up for me. I will see you guys next time. Okay. Bye, guys.